Hello and welcome to episode number 93 of the Wise Guys Podcast. I'm John Tortorelli, Brand Capozziello, JRey, and today we're all main Davis to discuss our NBA awards, our NBA first round playoff predictions, and much more. Your boy woke up 30 minutes late today, but you know what, guys? We have so much to cover. I'm pretty excited to jump into it. How you feeling?
I'm basking in. You know what? Time out. Anybody that watched the last episode knows that when we were talking about the play-in, I was so close to rolling with Atlanta. So close, but the only reason I changed my pick was I just was gonna be nice to Brandon. I just wanted to be on his side for once. And I wish I didn't change my pick. Atlanta got the job done. What did I tell you, man? I told you it's the playoffs. Anything can happen. You've been telling me that all year, and it came back on you.
We just suck though.
Not a playoff game. Not a playoff game. Okay,
I think it's
playoffs are a series. It's a one-game elimination. It's more like football than basketball. So let's just get that out of the way. Good job to Atlanta. They got the job done. They wanted it more. They out-hustled us. They have more energy. They definitely destroyed us on the goddamn boards. And that's it. Let's get into something else because I don't want to be in a depressing.
Hey man, all I'm saying is if Josh Giddey's dropping 30-point triple doubles in these games, I'm gonna count this as a playoff game just to push the agenda.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kyle Lowry though.
Shout out to Kyle.
And was on one. I would not be surprised.
Kyle.
I would not be surprised if he was drug tested the next day.
Shout out to Clint Capella.
If he played like this earlier in the year, he wouldn't be in this fucking position. Fuck Kyle.
NBA awards. We're going to start off with NBA MVP for the 2022-23 season. Who would like to begin?
Oh, this is an interesting one.
What award are we starting with?
What happened?
What award
MVP.
are we starting with?
MVP. I kind of feel, you know what, John? I want John to go first.
I got this shit pretty locked up, I'm not gonna lie. I really don't even have to think about it.
So there are three players that are in the running for the NBA MVP. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, and Nikola Jokic. So by the counting stats this year, Embiid, 33 points per game, led the league, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.7 stocks on 65% true shooting. Jokic, 24 points per game, 12 rebounds, 1.5 stocks, and a tick under, just a shade under 10 assists. 70% true shooting. The most efficient volume scoring season in NBA history. Giannis Antetokounmpo had himself a little bit less points. I think it was 28, 12 rebounds, and 6
31.
31 points.
31. Career high.
But only 1.6 stocks per game on 60% true shooting. My MVP would still be, though, Nikola Jokic. And there's a lot of talk about how Embiid this year, he only played 100 less minutes. He stayed healthy. He had a better defensive season. He had, by far, a better two-way season. But the Nuggets were a better team this year. And Jokic, without a bench, led the Nuggets to 52 wins. When I look at the Nuggets team, Jokic is the easiest star to play with, I think, in the NBA. Outside of maybe Steph Curry, but even then, I don't think there's a star that races his team's floor more, and there's not a star that's more vital to his team. To me, it's hard for me to make you MVP when your team has a winning record without you. The Bucks this year won 11 games without Giannis. The Sixers were 8-5 without Embiid. The Nuggets were one of the worst teams in the league without Jokic. And defensively, I've said this multiple times, because of how great a passer he is, he enables your best defenders to be on the floor with him. That's the versatility of having a 7-footer being the best playmaker on the floor at almost all times. I think the efficiency by Jokic being the most efficient player for 24 points per game with the second best offense, coinciding with the fact you can talk about his defense as much as you want, but the Nuggets were above average. They had the best clutch defense in the NBA. 2 years ago, it was Joel Embiid's award. Now, he didn't win because of minutes. This year, I felt like this is the second straight season it was truly Jokic's, but my prediction is that Joel Embiid will win because this is media-driven, and the media wants Joel Embiid to finally get that award, and I'm fully okay with that because Joel is deserving still.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that last point. The media definitely wants Joel Embiid to go. But John, I just one question for you because about I think 3 weeks ago, you had Giannis. It was me and you were on the episode alone. You had Giannis as the MVP. So in that stretch, I feel like Jokic probably had his worst stretch of the season since then. So what changed for you?
I went to the numbers, Bryn, and Giannis just not being able to make a single jump shot this year really did hurt his case. I mean, can we at least get to 30% from the three-point line, or at like 65, high 60s at the foul line? I'm worried in the playoffs that could be the Bucks' kryptonite. The fact Giannis cannot make a shot outside 5 feet, and because of that, his efficiency, 60% true shooting, that's 10% lower than Jokic.
Okay, I got you. Does anybody else want to go first or go next?
I'll
or
go first. I'll go first.
Go ahead, Romain.
Fuck Embiid. I don't know what. The only thing that I understand, the 32 points per game, most points per game from a center since, I think, not even that. I think it's more than Moses Malone. So most points since Wilt as a center or Kareem, one of the two. My whole problem behind him winning it is the simple fact that doesn't make this a historical season as well as more historically significant than the other two. And every single reason behind him winning MVP from any single media member you ask, it's not about him being better than the other two. It's about him, oh, it's his turn now. He deserves it now, which is so dumb. And from every single shot he's taken at Jokic of the year about talking about stat padding or talking about why he shouldn't have expectations because he doesn't have MVPs or talk about why he doesn't care about or shit like that is the shit that pisses me off because I'm like, one, this just screams Sixers second round exit again. And two, when you look at the numbers, all the historical implications before this, it's so clear to Giannis, it hurts. Every single, outside of Westbrook and Jokic, almost every single MVP in the past like 20 years have had some type of winning bias. D Rose won it because he won 5 more games in the Heat that year, even though he had significantly less stats. Well, not significant, but way a little bit lower than Bron. But he won like 5 more games and he won it. When you look at the statistical impact, it's not much different than it's not different than Jokic or Embiid, because I mean, because he's averaging 30, 10, and 5 on 50% shooting, the first player to ever do that. And 3, it's not even if you want to spin narratives here, only one of these guys have been without their second best player for this long. And if you're gonna say the Bucks are 11-4, 11-5 without Giannis and talking about how good they are without him, be my guest if this is the whole your team is better without you contest, when this was never a conversation other than this one time, other than last year with Jokic, and that's just because of how insanely he was dominating every single advanced stats field. It's not even funny. So I can't really give it to Embiid when I know that the only reason you're winning it right now is because, one, they don't want to give Jokic 3 in a row, especially because that dumbass Boogie argument I heard the other day. And 2...
His takes are trash.
Oh, very. And 2, it just feels like you're just throwing it. It literally just feels like here, damn, since you complain about it here, but here, take it. Like, it just doesn't feel right to give it to him. But I'm gonna let him have it, and it feels bad because I feel like I'm saying he doesn't deserve it because he is deserving. But nobody actually talks about his actual argument for winning the award. Yeah. Everybody's just talking about the reasons why, like they don't want to give it to the other people.
Yeah, no, I see exactly where you're coming from. The consensus, I think the voting is all Embiid basically. There's a couple Giannis's, and then I think there's like 2 people voting for Jokic. So it looks like Embiid's going to get the award. And like you said, all 3 guys are deserving. There's no like real wrong answer here. It's more just based on opinion and what really attracts to you more, right? So John, it's Jokic. Romain, it's Giannis. And we're about to find out from Mr. Justin Ray here. So Justin, hit us with what you got. Who's your MVP?
No, honestly, I think it's like Brandon said, you hit the nail on the head when each player is deserving. I mean, I spoke the other day highly about Giannis and how we've just become accustomed to how much of a freak he is on the court. So you could give this guy an MVP every year. Same with Jokic. The guy averages damn near triple-double all the time. But, yeah, I'm kind of with the Embiid train. I'm rolling with him. And I know Philadelphia kind of gets a lot of flack. I mean, Romain already threw shade at their postseason failures already before we even started talking about any playoff matchup. But I think Embiid has had a historical season, and while you guys seem to be downplaying it, not Brandon, about him averaging 30 plus points per game at the center spot. That's historical. He one-upped himself from last year. The guy had a better year, and there's not much getting better from what he did last year, and yet he did. So I think you got to give the guy credit where credit is due. Philadelphia has a better record. I get it by 1 game over the Denver Nuggets. I'm going to give him the edge over Jokic. That Jokic stretch where Denver was losing plenty of games, losing to the Knicks and the Nets back to back, and then just going on that poor stretch, really, I guess, put a damper on his MVP ranking. But I think Embiid has had a fantastic season. And you know what, Romain, I got news for you, bro. I don't think this Philadelphia team is just going to be walked over in the playoffs.
They play Boston the second round. You have that much faith in them?
Yeah, I do.
This
Oh,
new
that's
Philadelphia
crazy. How
team.
much money you want to put on that?
I am a betting man, so we'll talk later.
On God.
Well, they both gotta get there first. So all three of you guys are picking one each of the three guys. So I guess it's up to Mr. Brandon Capozziello to break the tie, right? So here's what I'll say. Like I said, all three are very deserving, and every single one of them in their own right is having a historical season. For me, it's been, listen, can you knock Jokic for the last 2.5, 3 weeks of the season? Sure. But for me, if you have been going basically since January on that Jokic is your MVP, and the last 3 weeks of the season affects your opinion, I feel like you're kind of got the game twisted. 3 weeks shouldn't, it's not just the 3 weeks at the end of the season, it's the entire season you're supposed to look at. So you're supposed to look at the first part, second part, third, fourth, however many parts there are. So for me, it's been Jokic since January, and I'm still going with Jokic. I've not wavered. Nikola Jokic is damn near averaging a goddamn triple-double. And you want to talk Giannis, got 31 points. You want to talk Embiid, got 33 points. Guys, both of those guys are shooting 5 more shots than Jokic. And Jokic has just got 6 or 7 points, give or take, less than them. We all know if Jokic had more shots, 20 shots a game, he'd be getting 29, 30 points a game. All right. He focused more on being a playmaker this season. And also, you can't deny, I know John loves the true shooting percentage. I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's way too analytical, and I don't like how they get to that stat. It's not, if it was just taking the field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage and finding the average and the mean for that, I'd be cool with that. But then they add in this whatever the hell else that I tried to understand. I'm just not for it. I don't like it.
It values the three a little bit more.
I don't like it at all. So what I'm going to give you is Jokic is 63% from the field, 38% from three, and 82% from the free throw line. Listen, Embiid's got a little better free throw percentage, but 3-point and field goal ain't even close. So, and number 1 team in the West, 3rd team overall, or wait, no. 4th team, yeah, because the last game. 4th team overall, so top 4 seed in the entire NBA. I'm going Jokic, 3-peating as MVP. And we'll get into the playoffs and how maybe that impacts his legacy, in my opinion, if things don't go the way that I think the Denver Nuggets think that they should. But that's another discussion for another day. For right now, Nikola Jokic is my MVP, and I don't like how the last 3 weeks have impacted a lot of voters, because you've seen it on, I think it's the ESPN voting thing or whatever the hell. A lot of them changed from Jokic to Embiid in the last 3 weeks. Because of that 52-point game from Embiid, forgetting the context, hell of a game, no Jaylen Brown, no Robert Williams. I'm sorry, he's not getting 52 points if both those guys are playing.
And they almost choked and let him get back.
And they almost choked the game. They almost choked the game. So for me, the last 3 weeks can't impact your decision, because then you're just being way too recency bias, and it's not a recency bias award. It's in the entire season. Nikola Jokic is my MVP.
Rookie of the Year.
Look.
This is an award that, at face value, it seems like it's quite clearly Paolo Banchero, but we did have some guys in the background during the season. Jaylen Williams, who laid up a dud last night in his playing debut, but also Walker Kessler, who was an elite rim protector this year. Who do I want to start with here? Romain, who was your Rookie of the Year?
For Rookie of the Year, it has to be over. Again, just like MVP, which sounds good, it has to be over the totality of the entire season. Walker Kessler, in the beginning of the season, was coming off the bench, and Utah was bringing him along, developing him. And then around, I think this after the All-Star break, they stopped caring about making the playoffs because they realized they're a lower seed. Just, let's go get our pick, and just threw everything against the wall. Started sitting Laurie, traded Mike Conley, all of that. And really just started really pushing the development of these young guys. And Walker Kessler obviously showed out in that time. I think he's averaging close to like 2.5 or 3 blocks in that span of time, which is crazy. But I have to go Paolo. I can't. Paolo's just been doing the entire season. J-Dub is second in my race because of not even the second half of the season. Since January, since New Year's, he's been insane. Like, I'm talking about close to 20 points per game, 4 rebounds, I think like 3 or 4 assists, great defense, shooting 40% from 3. Like, genuinely, he's an older rookie, but genuinely, he's been dominating. Keegan Murray was pretty good this year for the Kings, but I just don't think he's on the same level of impact as the other two. Jaden Ivey obviously was pretty good this year again, but Detroit sucks. So you don't really hear too much noise about him. You have another guy on there in Jalen Duren, but Detroit's stupid and got James Wiseman and kind of push him in the background for some reason. But I think Mathurin, if he started the year crazy, and if he even kept up even a semblance of that, he would be up there too. But I think I think he fell off a little bit. I think he hit the rookie wall a little bit earlier than he was supposed to because he came out firing. And say what anybody wants to say about him. Jabari, in my opinion, had a really good, successful rookie year, especially for being on the OKC team. But yeah, I gotta go Paolo. He's been doing it He's been doing it for continuously the entire year, and that second half of the season for them. Not even that. After the first 10, 15 games of the season, the Magic has been basically a playoff team since then.
Yeah. Listen. I think we're all going to be in agreement, so I'm not going to, belabor the point. It's Paulo Banchero. Is it Banchero or Banchero?
Banchero,
you got it.
Okay. I just wanted to, I want to make sure I've heard it both ways. Listen, he just got but he just got to 20 points per game. Anytime a rookie averages 20 points per game, I think a lot of people just take notice on it because it is a sign of, okay, this guy, found a way to score big time on the biggest level in the NBA. One guy I do want to give a shout out, and Romain mentioned him, Keegan Murray. I've been pretty impressed. I know he's like the 4th or 5th option on the Kings, but correct me if I'm wrong. He broke the record for most 3-pointers made in a rookie season.
I think he's averaging 40% and made.
He's averaging 41% from 3 right now, 45% from the field. I like the kid. So, and I always like when a guy can contribute towards winning. I know Paulo is the main guy on the Magic, so that's why he's going to get the award, even though the wins are not there. But I just wanted to give a little shout out to Keegan Murray.
The wins aren't there, but he made an immediate impact right away. I think we're all going to agree that Paolo's the rookie of the year. I think the guy was averaging 34 minutes a game, so he had plenty of time, plenty of games to develop, 20 points per game, with close to 7 boards. The guy made an instant impact, and that's what you want for a number 1 pick. When you draft in the top 5, you're hoping to get somebody that's going to impact your team right away, and the Magic got that. So it's a bright future ahead of them. I'm not going to keep on harping on it because I think we're all going to agree with each other.
Paulo this year, 19 to 20, was getting fouled on almost 20% of his shooting attempts. So he was getting to the foul line like a grown man.
He came in with a superstar whistle.
Yeah, well, he was getting fouled a lot because Paulo, to me, was the number 1 guy on my big board. And his level of power, agility, and just grown man strength, you mix that in with shooting, but the shooting wasn't dropping for him this year. 28% from 3-point, mid-30s and mid-range. In time, that's going to develop. But he was tasked with Mission Impossible as a rookie, which was an Orlando offense that had no shooting, being the focal point and dealing with double teams, passing out. He gets nearly 4 assists a game. He was my rookie of the year. But I do think Walker Kessler's number 2 for me because his rim protection this year was flat out elite. And you can make the case he had a better season than Rudy Gobert because offensively, he played a pretty big role in Utah being one of the better offenses. Really good rebounder offensively, has good hands. But defensively, opponents shot 8% worse at the rim when he was on the floor. And then you pair that up with 2.5 blocks per game. No rookie, and this is including Keegan Murray's 3-point shooting, had a more elite skill, I think, than Kessler. Number 3 for me, though, will be Jaylen Williams. 18 points per game, 5 rebounds in the last 25. And then we'll give a shout out to Keegan Murray, but Paolo for me is also the Rookie of the Year. Now, Defensive Player of the Year is a funny award because it's always hard to evaluate defense. We often look at blocks per game, but I kind of have my own criteria sometimes. Minutes played is a huge part, and that's why Jaren Jackson's not Defensive Player of the Year to me. So he got up to a good amount of games, but only 1,700 minutes in the season, whereas Brook Lopez played nearly every game and played over 2,200. And that's why Brook Lopez is my Defensive Player of the Year. Without Giannis this year, the Bucks were still an elite defense. And that was because on that side of the ball, Brook's rim protection and ability to play higher up on ball screens to really take away 2-on-1s and pick and roll helped that Bucks defense take the responsibility off of Giannis. And while we often praise Jrue Holiday, in the regular season, he has not taken on this huge responsibility defensively. That's more in the playoffs. And I truly think Brook Lopez this year was the reason why the Bucks were so elite defensively, even without their superstar. And to me, that's why I have him above Jaren Jackson.
I have Evan Mobley as my Defensive Player of the Year this season. You would have swayed me earlier this season with Jaren Jackson Jr. because the fouls were down, the defensive impact was insane. He was playing a really good amount of minutes. It fell off in the second half, especially since they lost Steven Adams. He's been a little bit more aggressive on the defensive end, and those fouls went right back up, which is also another Achilles heel going to the playoffs, which is going to be a problem, especially against the damn Lakers. You're probably going to be fouled out by the damn second quarter. So, I understand the Brook Lopez pick, but I just look at what Evan Mobley's been able to do. I was watching some film because I posted a Cleveland video the other day, and there's a reason why they're the number 1 defense in the league. Like, it's absolutely insane with this guy. In his second season, I'm talking about it's Bam level switching at the top when guarding guards, forwards, and it's 80 level rim protection as a back line. And then when you talk about help, defense, and communication, it's absolutely insane. So I understand why you want to pick Brook. I think Brook is probably the second best drop center we've had in the past 5 years outside of Rudy with what he's been able to do this season. But I look at it in just being able to get that Cleveland team the number 1 defense when the only other real competent defender you have behind you is either Isaac Okoro or Jared Allen. Jared Allen's missed a lot of time this year. Versus Brook Lopez when you have Jrue Holiday at the point of attack, Giannis right next to you. Like, you have Javon Carter coming off the bench. Like, Jay Crowder starting at the 3 right now for it. Like, you have a lot of defensive help that makes his job a lot easier versus Evan Mobley, that his job isn't that much easier, yet he's having, if not better, impact on that end.
I love that pick. That's a phenomenal selection. He was
I'm going to roll with you, John, and I'm going to go with Brook Lopez. I think I must have been in 5th or 6th grade when Brook Lopez got drafted and came into the NBA playing with the New Jersey Nets. And I remember being absolutely stoked because I just loved every team back then. I used to go to the Izod Center and see the New Jersey Nets play. Now I can't stand the Nets, but that was back in the day. But Brook Lopez had always been a stud offensively, was never really looked at as a monster on the defensive end. He was good, I guess, straight defense. He wasn't as mobile or aggressive, but he completely has transformed his game from the guy that we used to see with the Nets to a guy that can knock down the 3 and score in the paint. And he's no longer just that straight up defender. He's mobile. He's aggressive. I think he had a career high in block shots this year. I think you got to give credit where credit is due. I think Brook really deserves this award. He's an absolute stud, class of a man, and also one of the more favorite personalities in the NBA. And looking back into last year, and I saw a stat on their defense last year, I think they were 14th in defensive rating last season. And this year, now Brook is healthy and back at it, they're in 4th.
Yeah.
So they jumped 10 spots.
Yep.
I think your answer's right there. Brook Lopez, Defensive Player of the Year.
2.5 blocks.
Whoever did his back surgery needs an award.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. He's 35 doing this.
For me, I agree with John when he first started off that I think that Defensive Player of the Year needs a little more clarity on how to define it and how to rate it, really, because I know a lot of people look at blocks and steals. And then there's other people that look at the defensive rating, go real into the nitty gritty and into the weeds. For me, it was Jaren Jackson Jr., but I'm gonna switch it up and I'm gonna agree with Romain. Simply for this fact: best defensive team in the league, best defensive player on that team. Evan Mobley is my defensive player of the year.
And he is the reason. This is not like Jason Tatum's the MVP, the Bucks or the Celtics won this. No, he is the reason the Cavaliers are the number one defense, because at 21 years old, there is not a thing you can pick at Evan Mobley's game. Maybe he's not Embiid level post defense, but as Romain said, his off-ball defense and his awareness is through the roof. And I think by next season, he will be a defensive player of the year because of how much of a unicorn he is.
I think he has majority of the votes right now, doesn't he?
I'm not sure. I didn't see the straw poll.
Yeah, I haven't looked.
But now we're going to go on to one of my favorites, Coach of the Year. My Coach of the Year is Mike Brown. Now, the
Not
Kings
even a competition.
coming
So
into
easy.
were not a playoff team. They're not a playing team. They were a mid-low 30 win team with the 25th, 26th ranked offense a year ago. This year, they broke the new record, which gets broken every year, by the way, in offensive rating with a 121. I often look at Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero. I'm like, damn, like, why are these guys not leading the Heat to the playoffs when Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox and that pick and roll dribble handoff duo absolutely lit the Western Conference on fire this season?
Because De'Aaron Fox is much better than Tyler Hero, John.
Yes,
Not even
very
that.
true.
The Kings have multiple people shooting 40% from three.
And part of the reason for that is because Mike Brown has taken principles from Golden State, which the Kings in the past tried to apply with Luke Walton and Michael Malone. And then he also took principles from the Denver Nuggets offense with Michael Malone and some of those dribble handoffs, running your offense through your center, and really playing through transition more. And now the Kings, with those two principles aligned, have got a career year of Kevin Huerter, De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, Keegan Murray is a Rookie of the Year candidate, and even Harrison Barnes, the old man here, is playing a huge role as that fifth starter. I think Mike Brown is he's always been one of the most underrated coaches as a former Coach of the Year, a guy that's led Cleveland to the finals with a top 5 defense alongside LeBron James. And so for him this year to build up that reputation even more by making this the best offense we've seen thus far, that is another tip in his cap. I'm happy to see him thriving in Sacramento because, look, in Golden State, Steph Curry never engineered an offense this damn good, and that included when they had Kevin Durant in offensive efficiency. And they're also first in points per game because of how much they put defenses to the stress test in transition. I mean, the guy's phenomenal, and I think this right here has been his greatest achievement yet.
So who was really the key back in Golden State? Because the moment Mike Brown leaves, he does this, and Steve Kerr falls off of a cliff. So, but right now, I don't think it's close. I really don't. I don't know who would be second place. Mike Malone.
Mark Dagnall. I would say Mark Dagnall. The Thunder are about to make the playoffs, and
I don't feel comfortable
top 10.
giving the Coach of the Year to somebody that has a team that's below 500. I understand the implication that OKC is the youngest team in the league, and he got him to this point, to the point where they're probably about to be the 8th seed. I just don't feel comfortable giving it to somebody that's below 500 versus a guy that, when I looked at this Kings team and I saw them trade for Sabonis, I'm like, play-in team at best. I had no idea at some point in the season they'd be the 2nd seed and somehow get to the 3rd seed.
So everybody's in agreement here that Mike Brown's their Coach of the Year?
Yes, sir.
Oh, interesting, because I'm not in agreement.
Oh, that's crazy.
He's my number 2 guy. If this is the most improved Coach of the Year, okay, we can give it to him.
On.
He's my number 2. He's my number 2. My number 1 is Joe Mazzulla. Do we forget the storyline and the drama he had to endure taking over this Boston Celtics team? Are they not the number 2 seed in the East, the number 2 seed in the entire NBA?
Yeah, but he inherited.
He has 2 All-NBA guys on the roster.
Whoa. If everything started to fall apart, who is getting the blame pointed at them?
No, and I
I would have immediately
respect that.
Tatum and Jaylen
So
Brown.
then he had to hold and timeout. Wait, are they not the number 2 offense and number 2 defense in the entire league?
Actually,
Are the I'll give you the Kings are the number one offense by a margin. How's their defense looking, guys?
Okay, but
There's
when
two
you
sides of the court. Listen, I love Mike Brown. I like what he's doing with the Kings, and I love De'Aaron Fox. I can't say enough how much I love De'Aaron Fox and how he is showing people what he can really do. But this is not most improved. This is coach of the year. 57 wins. He's got more wins. You want to look at home and road records. Both of them better than tied on the road, but at home much better than the Kings. I'm sorry, number 2 offense, number 2 defense. He had to take over from this drama that was ensuing with Ime Udoka gone. And if he failed, everybody is pointing the finger at him. So because he succeeded, and now they're 57 wins, they're number 2 in the entire NBA. My coach of the year is Joe Mazzulla. No disrespect to Mike Brown. I think he is well-deserving too. Both of these guys are well-deserving, but my coach of the year is going to Joe Mazzulla.
Look,
I can't really stand behind that because you look at 2 years ago, Tom Thibodeau won it with the Knicks winning like 41 games, and that's only because they improved that much because people weren't expecting them to be that good. You have guys like Nick Nurse that won it when the Raptors lost more games than they won. They just kept it together a little bit the year before. They just kept it a little bit.
Let me ask you a question. I don't have those guys in front of me right now, and we'd have to go through them for me to analyze them better, but those are what they voted for. This is my list. This is my coach of the year.
That's fair. But
maybe I don't agree with those guys. This is like the Hall of Fame. I have discussion with a lot of people where people are like, well, Brandon, but this guy's in the Hall of Fame, so how can't you have this guy? Well, whoa. That's their decision. You didn't ask me my opinion on that. So that's where I come back at you is maybe they are coach of the year for them. For me, I'd have to go back and analyze them. For me,
I'm just saying the reasoning is a little bit disingenuous. I'm just saying the reasoning is a little bit disingenuous.
It's not.
I mean, come on.
Credit.
I understand the Joe Mazzulla pick, but in the sense of right now, you're stepping on a team with a defensive player of the year candidate center, 2 All-NBA guys, a top 10 player in the league. Your second option is averaging 27 points per game.
And what
you have Malcolm? Your team is so deep. You have Malcolm Brogdon coming off the bench.
If you didn't win 45 games plus with that roster, then you were just a bad head coach.
Can I ask you a
but
question?
people were expecting them to win. People were expecting them to win more this year.
Can I ask you a question, guys? Can I ask you a question? Because I don't know this off the top of my head. Greg Popovich has won Coach of the Year before.
Yeah,
multiple times. I'm guessing he had an elite team too. Are we going to hold that against him?
I've never held it against them, but it's when your elite team performs that much better, or performs to that level. They perform a little bit below what you expect them to. Because let's be real here. Throughout the season, there are times when you look at Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and look at the way they were playing, you're like, some of those problems last year are still there. Like, there's a reason why people don't see them as the overwhelming favorite over Milwaukee. And that's because you see still some of those problems there, even with better offensive players. So right now, I'm looking at it, I'm just like, I was expecting them to win 55 closer to 60 games this season. 52 is below the average of what they thought they would do. Oh no,
question.
54, I think.
For the three of you guys, how much worse did you guys think the Celtics were gonna get when Ime Udoka was gone?
Oh, not at all. I didn't think they were gonna miss a beat.
All right, John.
I was confident they would be a 50-win team.
B.
Yeah.
That
doesn't change my opinion. Where if he would have failed, the finger would have been pointing at him. So I'm giving him his credit still. Like, he had to hold the ship together.
Sure I think that finger was immediately going to be pointed at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Even probably Marcus Smart being one of the players, one of the people getting the most blame before Joe Mazzulla.
No. Boston Celtics fans and the media in general would have pointed at Joe Mazzulla. They would not have blamed the players.
Well, listen, I'm not using this to crap on Joe Mazzulla because you are right. What he did, that was a tough situation to walk into. And then playing in a big market like Boston, that's no easy task. He would be my number 2. But I kind of think going away from Mike Brown here is a little crazy because, man, breaking a 16-year postseason.
Mike Brown saved the franchise.
Yeah.
And not only
just might have had to relocate if they didn't turn this thing around. Yeah. Mike Brown took a bottom 5 offense and made that one of the greatest ever. And without him, it's tough to say that all of this talent would have just figured itself out because he is the Canes' 16th head coach. And none of the guys before him were able to get the culture turned around, the shift in energy, the offensive breakthrough, and also the accountability in just one season, taking a franchise that was stuck in purgatory and making that a top 10 team. Whereas with Missoula, he inherited what was a 51 squad, and he made them better offensively. But Mike Brown legitimately saved the franchise and a fan base that was far more emotional than the Celtics, in a sense of disappointment, dissatisfaction, and just
I've never seen an
some
entire
hope
league.
that didn't really feel real.
Wait, John, the way you're talking is so sombering and so like you're trying to victim me into picking Mike Brown. Listen, save the puppy dogs, go cry me a river, okay? I gave him his respect. I gave both. He's number 2 on my list. I said both guys are well deserving of it. My choice is Joe Mazzulla. You're not gonna bait me into playing victim and picking him, okay? With this, oh, he helped the fan base. Oh, the sadness, the 16 years. Oh, without Mike Brown. I gave them both the respect. I gave my opinions and the reasons why Joe Mazzulla is my coach of the year. No disrespect to Mike Brown.
So talking about some high energy, high vibes, Emmanuel Quickley is the 6th man of the year. Him and Malcolm Brogdon this year are averaging 14 points, close to 15, 3.5 assists, and 4 rebounds. Now, Brogdon's doing it on a little bit better efficiency, 57% EFG. Actually, yeah, so Quickley's at 53%. Energy is everything, 6th man of the year. And I'm sorry, Malcolm Brogdon, for as great as he's been off the bench, Emmanuel Quickley just brings a spark of energy in that second unit that makes the Knicks a playoff team. They've got a good starting lineup, but it's their bench that really takes them a step up. And with the Celtics, it's not Malcolm Brogdon, it's their starting lineup. Defensively this year, Emmanuel Quickley has been one of the 5 to 6 best guards in the NBA, to the point I considered him for an all-defensive team. And with the energy he brings, the infectious joy, and the three-point shooting, his floater game is also elite. I gave him the slight edge, but I mean, this guy, since he's in New York, he's gonna blow Malcolm Brogdon, I think, out the water here.
I saw the straw bowl on Malcolm Brogdon is taking this. It's actually split pretty down the middle between him and Malcolm Brogdon. Yeah,
It shouldn't be.
Who do you got, Justin?
Who you think I got, man?
your homer.
I'm repping New York.
Oh, you're a New York guy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Romaine. You got me very pissed off when you said Malcolm Brogdon there while he was talking. Brandon laughed because I rolled my eyes at the corner of the screen. Let me read the final season totals before you guys even think about this. Brogdon, 1,000 points exactly, right? I think this is final season, or this was as April 10th. So as of April 10th, Brogdon had 1,000 points. Quickley, 1,209. Rebounds, Brogdon, 280. Quickley, 337. Brogdon in assists, 248. Quickley, 279. Brogdon in steals, 45. Quickley, 80. Brogdon in 3 points made, 132. Quickley, 168. Wins, Brogdon, 46. Quickley, 47. I'm sorry. He's averaged more points. He's played 14 more games and is significantly a better defender than Malcolm Brogdon. Emmanuel Quickley is the clear-cut 6th man of the year. When you look at that award, it's supposed to be a spark plug, somebody that gets in the game and immediately makes an impact. This guy has served as the perfect 6th man, and when Jalen Brunson went down, what did he do against Brogdon Celtics? Lit them up in the TD Garden. He showed you that night, a month ago, that he deserved the award. There's no debate. It belongs in New York. Emmanuel Quickley is the 6th man of the year. Book it. And if he doesn't get it, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Justin wants that award in New York City, baby. He's like, I'm getting one of these awards.
I think there's one thing you should be more mad about than the 6th man of the year if Julius Randle doesn't make an All NBA team, which it doesn't look like he will. Which is
I'll be fine as long as Jalen.
He doesn't deserve that. He doesn't deserve that.
Third team, yes he does.
No,
I'm on forwards. Yes, he does.
No, I'm sorry. Listen, this one, you guys, John and Justin make very compelling cases, right? I put Brogdon there because I would say in all season and since he got signed, the Celtics last year, their main criticism was they didn't have a true point guard to set them up, and they went out and they got that guy, and Malcolm Brogdon was. Now I'm surprised he wasn't implemented into the starting position, but listen, they seem to know much more about basketball than me, so they made the right decision, right? And Justin makes such a great point where what does the definition of sixth man of the year is really that guy that comes off the bench. I know he's got the spark plug, the guy that's going to provide that energy, the Energizer Bunny. And when Brogdon comes in the game, I guess you don't get that. He's white bread. He's very broccoli, right?
Because he doesn't have to. Quickly has to come in.
Exactly, right? So, you know what? I go back and forth, and for this one, I have Brogdon written down, but
oh, come on.
honestly, I'm not gonna switch, but I'm just gonna say I'm gonna ride the fence on this one, and whichever one gets it, gets it. I won't make a final decision because both guys are deserving in my opinion.
Knicks
I know
are
that's the weak way out, but sue me, all right?
The Knicks are
Brogdon's
8.5
the most
points
missed
better
man of
when
the
IQ's
year.
on the floor. 8.5 points better, and defensively they're 12 points better when he's on the floor.
Respect.
Look, I understand the on-off numbers for Emmanuel quickly, but you have to realize who he's coming up behind versus right. You have to realize he's coming in for who's the Knicks two right now, starting two, besides Jaylen. Yeah, you have to look at who he's coming up behind to become that spark plug versus Malcolm Brogdon here. Like Malcolm Brogdon is, I think Boston's one of the best first quarter teams in the NBA, right? So you have Malcolm Brogdon coming in behind a team that's probably already leading that game, and it's not the fact that they're dropping, it's the fact that he's keeping them steady to the point where they're going to keep that 10, 15 point lead that they got. He's not dropping off at any single point. When you talk about the production level this season, it's literally at the same, except Malcolm Brogdon may be a little bit more efficient this season, but it's the same level of production this season. And right now, there's a reason why IQ averages the amount of points he does right now is because Jalen Brunson missed a quite amount of time. When he jumps in that starting lineup, he's different. Like when he gets in that starting lineup, he's aggressive. But I can't knock Malcolm Brogdon for not having that opportunity because Boston's been healthy this season, and he's played his role to the absolute T he had to this season, and he's one of the reasons why I think Boston is probably going to take the Eastern Conference. He's literally the reason why when you come off that bench that they're almost that unbeatable, because there's literally not a single drop off from production the moment Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown come out of the game to the 3 minutes after that when they come back in. You can put him in for 3-4 minute stretches and you're just like, how are we still gonna stop this offense? And I'm 67 games, way past what I thought he would play this season. I thought he's going to be around the 50-55 range. 67 games of this type of production from Malcolm Brogdon is absolutely insane.
And that's why they have him off the bench, so he can not play 40 games.
So right now, I understand the Emmanuel quickly pick, but I'm just looking at level of production, level of team and the importance to your team and I think Malcolm Brogdon is a little bit more important in making that Celtics team as unbeatable as they are than IQ.
I mean, when we're talking level of importance, what makes Brogdon as more important than Emmanuel quickly to the Knicks?
He's simply more important to his team.
A large problem with Boston last season. A large problem with Boston last season is that their second guard off the bench was Peyton Pritchard, wasn't it? Yeah. There's a reason why when that bench came in. When that bench came in for Boston, there's a reason why there was a significant drop off at certain times for the offense, and the reason why Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart were like logging in 38 to 40 minutes per game in the playoffs when you don't even want to play, especially in like the first or second round at the time. Right now, when you put Malcolm Brogdon in that situation, when you put Malcolm Brogdon in that position, right now you can toggle Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's minutes to the point where now they're coming in and they're fresh legs throughout the rest of the game because they're getting significant rest to the point where you're looking at the offense, you're just like, hey, I don't gotta worry. I don't gotta worry about it right now. He got it.
So your pick's Brogdon.
I understand Emmanuel quickly. The two-way level play from him this season also defensively has been great. But I can't look at how important Brogdon is to that team and the dynamic he changed for them and just say he's not sixth man of the year.
Okay, fair enough.
I believe it'll be robbery.
Yeah.
If Emmanuel quickly doesn't win.
I need my energy. Got a lot of energy. Got a lot of people trying to take me in this energy.
Hey man, I hate both, so I don't care.
Hey, six God.
Now we were gonna do executive of the year, but I want to find a little twist. Not executive of the year. This is a tight race. So I think though the ultimate winner would be
Pelinka.
Tim Connolly, who made probably the worst trade I've ever seen in my entire life, trading 5 first-round picks for Rudy Gobert. The players don't matter to me, to be honest with you, because Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, Leandro Balmero, and Patrick Beverly, like,
No, the fact
aren't
you
that
traded Walker
vital in the
Kessler
playoff
kinda-
rotation.
Walker,
But 5 first-round picks and Walker Kessler, who is suddenly right now, I would rather have Walker Kessler than Rudy Gobert. And that's honestly taking the contracts out of it, because offensively, Kessler is better. He's got better hands. He's more agile. He can pass a little bit. And defensively, he's younger, 9 less years of miles. And that, to me, is what gives Tim Connolly the award. The runner-up, who would that be? Give me a couple minutes. What do you guys got?
Well, I was not prepared for this.
I threw you a curveball for a reason.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I have my executive of the year.
Okay, that wasn't that funny. Give me your
Non-exec-
executive.
I mean, for me, it's just, and I think I heard Romaine, sorry, say his name for non-executive, so he might be mad. But Rob Pelinka, I think, deserves a round of applause for the moves he made at the trade deadline to really change this team. Listen, I told you guys, addition by subtraction by getting rid of Russell Westbrook. I think it's been pretty clear that without Russell on that team, the Lakers are much better, much more energized, and feel like a cloud has kind of been lifted off of them. And then bringing in D'Lo, Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, and I know he hasn't played much, but Mo Bamba too. I just think those are all moves that not all of them were super necessary, but they were necessary in different terms. So I just gotta give it respect. Listen, he made the terrible move to get Russell Westbrook, but he finally made up for it and got them a team. And now the Lakers are looking primed to possibly make a deep run.
Right now, you'd have to look at Rob Pelinka's job if he didn't make this trade and be like, why are you even in the position that you are? But the Russell Westbrook thing is probably what? How long has he been the Lakers GM?
4 years.
The bubble? The
4
bubble?
years?
Yeah, before the bubble, yeah.
He hasn't made too many bad decisions. He's the one that put that 2020 team together. He retooled 2021. The only reason that team didn't do well is simply because they had 2 months of rest before the season started again, and AD and Bron's body just couldn't keep up. Yeah, you made the horrible move for Russ. And
yeah, that was the one move, yeah.
This season, he had plenty of times to panic. He could have gotten He could have pushed for getting Kyrie. He could have pushed for earlier trades in the year, but no, he sat on it. That team after that 2-10 start was still around 500 before he made the trade. So he's like, you know what? They're climbing the standings a little bit. I'm gonna wait until the perfect offer comes in. And Danny Ainge hit that phone, and he made being able to get Jared Vanderbilt, D'Lo, and Mo Bamba for Patrick Beverly and Russell Westbrook. I can't sit there and just look at that like that's not some crazy freaking moves.
Yeah.
But for worst executive of the year, get Pat Riley the hell out of here. Get his senile ass out of the front office, please. I'm so
I was
tired.
talking about last episode, bro. If Sleepy Pat,
I don't care if it's disrespectful. Get his senile ass out of here. I can't take it anymore.
No.
If Rob Pelinka can get
like
that
though.
for Russell Westbrook,
Pat Riley's
you're telling me you can't even move Kyle Lowry for something even just a little bit better for this team. Get the hell out of my front office.
Listen, we don't know all the trades out there. Listen, they're probably going to make the trade in the offseason because it's going to be an expiring contract. So listen, and Pat Riley, I trust. I'm not gonna. I can't go that far. That's too much. Does he deserve a little blame and criticism? Yeah, 100%. But firing, I
didn't say fire. I didn't say fire him. Look, get him
out of there. No, I don't.
Get the senior out of the front office a little bit too much. But if we're just talking about horrible seasons for an executive, the past 2 for this man has not. Well, past 1. I guess since he got PJ Tucker and that.
I mean, he was trying. I mean, we got to be honest though. He was trying to get Donovan Mitchell. The Utah was just not biting on our deal, and they wanted to get a better deal. We know Danny Ainge is a merchant there. He's going to get the best offer he can, and Pat wasn't willing to, I mean, going above and beyond would have included Bam or Jimmy, and that's not going to happen. So he did the best he possibly could. I do want to make a point towards Pelinka. You said he could have plunged for Kyrie. Listen, he would have plunged for Kyrie. They tried. If Brooklyn would have accepted the deal, Kyrie Irving would be a Los Angeles Laker. So let's not give him too much credit.
But part of the reason why I love that is because he didn't budge for Brooklyn. He said, this is what I'm willing to give up. They said, okay, we don't want that for Kyrie. And he was like, okay, then tub nubs. I'm gonna move on to somebody else.
But if he
could
had
have
the
been-
assets, he would have given up all the assets.
But I'm pretty sure they were asking for more of the assets, and he just wasn't willing to give it for Kyrie,
Well,
which is
Well, they didn't have good assets to give up, and they didn't want to give up. You can't give up Bron or AD, obviously, and yeah,
you got Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie for him.
Those assets are much better than Austin Reeves and a couple of first round picks.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm pretty sure they were just asking for probably a lot more, and he was like, nah, because I'm pretty sure they kept one of their first round picks, right? Yeah, they're probably asking for both.
yeah, they wanted both first rounders.
Yeah, and he said no.
Yeah, well, we don't know about that for sure. But that might have come upstairs from Genie, really saying no, don't give up those picks.
And
Yeah,
to
but
organize
for
this a little, I threw you guys off. Executive of the year, you just talked about Pelinka. I think it's pretty clear, though, Danny Ainge was on some shit this offseason. Hiring Will Hardy, who had one of the most impressive first seasons I've seen, he kept this team competitive when they were starting the likes of like Simeon Fontecchio, respect him, shout out to him. And, you know, he helped save Chris Dunn's career. But you also made two of the best trades in recent years. You got an all-star for an all-star and Lauri Markkanen. Now, he didn't expect that, but you got 2 first-round picks down the line, an extra first, and a young rookie, and Ochai Agbaji's 23. And then you probably pulled off the biggest fleece since your original trade in 2013. And now you have a dozen first-round picks in the coming years, and 2 building blocks in Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler. But more importantly, you have 2 building blocks with a really good head coach. So Danny Ainge, to me, he blew out the pack. He literally the guy probably has given Tim Connolly nightmares of how bad a negotiating process he put on.
Shout out.
Yeah. Any
I
objections?
I think for me, I want to give some love to my playoff opponent, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Kobe Altman. You got to give him credit in the offseason acquiring Donovan Mitchell. A superstar at that age rarely ever hits the market. So getting an opportunity to snag him when other markets like New York, like Miami, were all in the mix to get him. So really stepping up and doing that while not giving up anyone in your core is a massive W. And he instantly put his team on the map to be a contender in the East. I mean, John, didn't you have Cleveland finishing first in the East?
I did.
Yeah.
And went 56.
Yes, and they finished 4, but a 50-win team, top defense in the NBA, and while they got a tough matchup against my Knicks for this year and years on going forward, this is going to be a championship contender in the East with what they're building there. So you got to give them credit there. I think when you put your team in a position to have long sustained success, you're doing your job. So I'm going to give some love to Cleveland over there.
Cleveland, this is for you.
There's a plenty of guys this season that definitely is pretty deserving. Because there's just been some masterful moves all over the NBA.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a wrong pick. I just think it's what you value. I think I value a little bit more in researching a team and putting them in place to win a championship a little more in Rob Pelinka's case versus Danny Ainge's case where you did a masterful job of starting a rebuild.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he'll probably win the award in a year or two when we start to see this, flourish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Final award.
What is the final? The All NBA teams?
Most improved player.
Oh, I almost forgot. Okay, it's such
Shout
a
out. Shout
not.
out.
It's a very
I
bizarre
still don't
award,
have
most
a pick.
improved. Because
It's tough. It's a tough one.
there's no specific criteria for
Look
most
at Justin
improved.
over here is like, it's not tough.
Last year they gave it to John Morant, who I felt was not the pick. I thought it was Desmond Bain. This year, my pick, it's Lauri Markkanen. Now we have some great contenders. Mikal Bridges took an in-season jump like no other. Jalen Brunson, even De'Aaron Fox, and there's one other player in there, Nick Claxton,
Yay.
and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of course, going from 24 to 32 points per game. And defensively, he's become a borderline all-league defender.
Yep.
But Lauri Markkanen has gone from an afterthought, a bust, a guy that was just a toss-in into the Donovan Mitchell trade to, no, he's averaging 25 points per game on elite efficiency. He's even protecting the rim. He doesn't do much as a passer, but to go from 14 to 25 points while shooting up 7% in your true shooting, getting your three-point up to 40%, you're finishing up. Lauri Markkanen has become a top 30 player. And coming into this year, I don't know if people would have had him in their top 75. Mikal Bridges, to me, was a top 50 player coming into the season. Jalen Brunson was easily top 75. And Nick Claxton did not have the production Lauri Markkanen did. And so I want to give a shout out to him. And what it shows, the situation and coaching is truly everything. Jim Butler almost ruined this guy's career. And the fact he survived, and so did Zach LaVine, and now Chris Dunn's with them hooping in Utah, it goes to show the Bulls. They fumbled
Player
that
development
rebuild
is
big time.
ass. Like,
Yeah.
watch Patrick Williams leave that. What's the trade Patrick Williams and he turns out to actually be Kawhi 2.0 or something. Like, right now, it's between Shea and Lauri Markkanen for me. I knew Shea was good. I didn't know he was this good. Like, this type of jump is absolutely. I think like not last year, but the year before that, he was averaging 24. But he only played like 33 games. But he was averaging 24 and really good efficiency, and then there's a fall off the next year. And people kind of, like, you know what? This is the real him. He got played a lot more time. This is a lot bigger sample size and is around the same level of production, just a pretty less efficient. I think this is what you get from him. And he comes in this season, just blows everything out the water. Like, genuinely, and you think you saw it in the last playing it. It's just, he's unstoppable. He has so many weapons. He's not a below average. He just doesn't take them, but he's a pretty average 3-point shooter. Mid-range game is absolutely out this world. He has a million different ways to get to the rim. It's honestly just insane. I think he's one of the best defensive guards we have in the league right now. It's just insane just to watch him play. But I can't just ignore the literally like jump in production from Lauri Markkanen. I have to go Lauri. Like, you almost doubled your point per game average. I didn't know he had this much in his offensive bag, and that's obviously because of coaching and the position he was in Cleveland. Obviously, you'd want Darius Garland and Evan Mobley to lead that team versus him offensively, but defensively and offensively, he just showed so much that I didn't even know he had in his bag this season. He was just let loose, and to see him average 25 on this level of efficiency, and then be one of the better defensive wing forwards in the league, I gotta go him.
I think we all know where I'm going with this, but I'm trying not to make it a thing where every time a fan listens to the show, they're like, this guy again, this guy again. But I feel like I'm already 10 toes deep into that being that guy on this show already. So I might as well just continue to stick with this. As like you said, there are a ton of guys that are worthy of this award. Lauri Markkanen, I'd even say Shea Gilgeous-Alexander too can win this. But I'm gonna stick with my boy here. I'm gonna go with Jalen Brunson. My assassin. I've nicknamed him the assassin of this Knicks team because he has been something that this franchise has lacked for an extremely long time. Probably the best point guard play that we've had since way back with Walt Clyde Frazier. So I'd go that far, yeah.
No Mark Jackson level, okay.
Now this is another level. This is superstar level basketball that he's played this year. Last season averaging 16 points per game, now averaging 24. The guy absolutely stepped in from day one and showed that, I can be a leader on this team. And going into the season, I was skeptical on the signing because, at first you want Donovan Mitchell and this is what we get out of it. You wondered, okay, this is a guy that was playing behind Luka all this time. What is he capable of? And we saw flashes of that in the postseason last year. Just didn't know if that would sustain for an entire season. And did he prove us wrong? Jalen Brunson, I was just looking at his season highs right now. Last year, one of his season highs in points was 31 with Dallas. His season high with us this year, 48. The guy was an absolute menace offensively, played very good defense also. He just did it all on and off the court. He was a leader, instant impact, and forget the guy should have been an all-star, not just be in consideration for most improved player. This is not just a Knicks for clicks thing. I'm actually saying this because I really believe it. Jalen Brunson's my most improved.
Real quick, how the did Jalen Brunson make the Knicks a top 3 offense? Top 3 offense.
He came in. I understand how he did it.
They were 22nd last year, and the only difference was him and Emmanuel quickly taking a step forward.
He's the best guard they've had since who? Like Stephon Marbury?
He's better than Marbury, though.
Since then. Like, I think when you have a point guard that's that dynamic on that offensive end, it opens the door so much for what Julius Randle can now do in isolation and as a passer. it opens the door so much more for what RJ Barrett, how much free RJ Barrett is. So I understand why he's able to push their offense a little bit. I didn't expect to be third. I didn't expect this from him this year. He's definitely one of the guys that's deserving, but I understand how he's able to push him to at least a top 5 offense.
That is the best offense in the Eastern Conference. It's better than Milwaukee. That's better than Cleveland. That's better than Boston.
Boston's the only one that surprised me. I'm not gonna lie.
Interesting. Justin, I mean, disrespecting your boy Linsanity, bro. You know what I mean? It's a good
So
stretch.
crazy.
No, I'm not.
It's so crazy.
No, but my listen, this most improved player of the war can go to a number of different players. For me, I'm agreeing with John. It's Lauri Markkanen. I just want to go over it real quick with you. 14.8 points per game to 25.6, 5.7 rebounds to 8.6 rebounds, 1.3 to 1.9 assists. He upped in turnovers by only one. He's only 1.9 turnovers a game is incredible. 5.1 shot makes, 11.5 shot attempts to now 8.7 for 17.3, 44.5% to 49.9% from the field, 35.8% to 39.2 from 3, and 86.8 to 87.5. He's literally upped in almost every statistical category you could think of. Lauri Markkanen is the most improved player of the year. Shout out Lauri.
And with Brunson, we knew it was a matter of him getting more opportunity. No, with Lauri Markkanen, it was opportunity and him just taking his game from okay to elite. And so that's why I still think he would be above Jaylen.
Honestly, think when you look back at some of those Bulls games, I feel like Lauri's always had some of this in his bag. This coach has just never let him unleash it. Like on the Bulls, he was literally, hey yo, you sit in the corner, you either hit these corners, you either hit these spot up threes, or you attack closeouts, and that's it. We're not allowing you to go in the post. You're not going 1-on-1. We're not a good team, great team in transition, so you're not running the break at all. So it's like, is that the fact that he's able to unleash a lot of this stuff now?
It's showing it. It goes back to that quote I heard from Candace Parker on Inside the NBA once, where she said, and this is no shot at Lauri Markkanen, but this just kind of explains it. There's going to be a guy on every team that has to get the 20 points a game or 10 boards or whatever. There's always going to be that guy, and Lauri Markkanen is that guy for the Utah Jazz. He just wasn't able to show it in his previous teams. He's now able to show it.
I understand that take, but I think it's different when it's somebody that's got to get 20, because normally those guys are inefficient when they do it because they're not supposed to be in this position to be that type of scorer for that team. Lauri just came in and just like, nah, I'm really a bucket. Like, yeah, I don't think y'all understand. Like,
yeah, but as the number one guy, if he has to take a back seat again, which he's going to have to if he wants to be on a championship team, then he's not going to be putting up these type of numbers.
I mean, I think he can be a second option in the championship.
But his play style is play finishing, and he's an elite play finisher. Put him next to a star, he'll finish plays for sure.
Right now with Utah, if they didn't decide to tank for a little part of that second half of the season, I think they would be firmly in the plan right now.
Put him in Dallas.
Huh?
Put him in Dallas.
Lauri Markkanen off Luka Doncic.
Don't.
I like
no.
Man.
Don't do that to Lauri. Don't do that to Louri.
Luka's not going to give him the ball.
No, he's not even that. Don't
he's going to end up the next Kristaps Porzingis. He's going to be complaining about not getting the ball.
You need a low for Luka. It has to be a low usage, high defensive big.
Yeah,
like maybe a Nick Claxton and then a better like a really good shooting wing. Like if you get like a Bogdanovich at the forward spot and Nick Claxton in the center, that's perfect for that. But Luka has to have the ball overwhelmingly on that team for him to be the guy.
Luka,
I don't think you can put somebody like Lauri next to him and be successful. You're gonna put him back in the Kristaps position again.
Let's transition to guys like Luka and All NBA. My first team All NBA squad. We were going to do best takes, but to be honest with you all, we could do that at a different show.
Yeah.
I want to hone in now on Dame Lillard because he is first team All-NBA. And I think a lot of people this year haven't given him the respect he deserves because this season is just as good as Steph Curry 2 years ago when Steph was second in MVP votes. And when he's on the floor this year, the Blazers have a 119 offensive rating. That'd be third best in the NBA. With that, it drops to well below average at 112, excuse me. And defensively is why the Trailblazers stink. The Warriors 2 years ago, I'm going to come back to this Steph comparison. They had a top 5 defense of Draymond. The reason the Blazers missed the playoffs this year is not because of Dame, it's because of a crappy defense. So I have Dame first team All-NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and whoever wins MVP. I think it's going to be Embiid, so he would be first team. But if Jokic wins it, I think he would be first team instead. I don't vibe with the Marc Gasol thing where you win the award but you come second team. I think it's bull. I want to see whoever wins MVP be on the first team center.
John, I want to hone in on that. So you have Shea, Luka.
No,
Jason
no
Tatum.
Luka. It's Shea, Dame.
Oh, sorry, Dame. Yes, Dame, Tatum. Who's the foot? Giannis,
Yep.
and then whoever wins MVP.
Yep. Which I think will be Embiid.
Okay, so here's what I need to understand from you, right? And I'm not just attacking you. I just want, clarity on this All NBA. Does winning matter at all to you when taking into account for All NBA teams?
It does, but context also matters too.
I understand. Listen, I'm a king of context, okay? But context is still you can make that argument with context about Dame. At the end of the day, the context is they're on a crap team and he's not winning games.
They are a top 10 offense, and with them it's top 3.
What is that getting you? They're not even in the play-in. So here's my thing, right? Why I asked you to clarify on that winning, because my whole list, I take winning into the highest regard. If you're not winning, you're not on my list. So it has to do with your stats and winning.
Non-impacts. Impact doesn't matter.
Impact is there.
Its own category, though, shouldn't it?
When I say winning, I should specify this. Impact towards your team's winning.
Okay.
Right?
I feel like Dame is one of the most impactful stars.
34 games is not cutting it when you got guys on the other list that are 20 games above him.
I don't blame that on Dame though, because
that's fine.
He doesn't last 15.
He doesn't get the criticism. That's fine, but you cannot reward a guy for bowling out singularity, but also say winning does take into consideration.
Dame didn't ball out
to negatively impact him.
Dame was on the long list for MVP this season. There's a difference there.
Yeah, but
Dame had his best season.
Wait. I got him again,
Yeah.
because this goes back to the conversation me and Romain just had about 30 minutes ago or whatever, when he asked me, I forget what it was. See, you're saying what other people are saying. Homeboy, you're talking to me right now. Okay, you're talking my opinion. I'm telling you my opinion. A Dame Lillard would not have been anywhere near my list for MVP because you have to win. So for all NBA, you have to win.
It's an individual
and you
award.
can say it's not his fault. Brother, if you're not the problem, are you the solution? Are you?
Dame is a solution, yeah. He's
Is
averaging...
Why do they only have 34 wins?
Because they won the worst defenses in the NBA.
So he's on a terrible team, and he's balling out by himself. So
I mean, they
discredit Steph Curry. Discredit De'Aaron Fox.
He had a better year than
Donovan Mitchell.
He's better than him.
Kevin Booker.
He was better than all of those guards you just named. When the Blazers were healthy, when the Blazers were healthy, they were the #1 seed for 2 weeks. When they were healthy.
Who?
Early in the season. The
Who?
Blazers.
2 weeks,
What
John?
are you talking about? You brought up there
They weren't healthy, and they had
nobody was watching the games early in the season.
John,
I hate to
John,
bring it to you, but
John, I'm gonna look at it this way right now.
All NBA's individual awards.
No.
So while winning does matter. Winning should not demerit
that's why I asked you.
awards.
That's why
That's
I
not demerit
directly
a player.
asked you, John Tortorelli. That's your name right there. It says right there, John Tortorelli. I asked you directly. Do you take winning into consideration? You said yes. Now you're switching?
Wait,
I said it
John,
plays a role, but
Wait, John,
context
two
matters
seasons-
more.
2
Context
seasons
is
ago-
more important.
So
than
then what about
individual awards.
stats? So
What about stats? I'm just talking
No,
about
Steph.
how much do you drive. He had a better year than Steph Curry. Damian Lillard was better this season.
well, you don't even so he can have a better year statistically wise. I mean, I don't think it's by that much of a
When he was on the
margin.
floor, the Trailblazers offense was better than the Warriors offense.
Okay, that's fine. But does he what you're not even taking into account the wins.
Wins matter, but Steph has
It's not even
Draymond
just-
Green,
it's not
Steve
even-
Kerr, and pretty good
You're
starters
taking
alongside
away.
him.
You
That's
shouldn't be
not.
taking away credit from a guy just because he's playing on a better team.
And that's
not
why
fair.
you value wins, but context will tell you, okay, Steph had a much better roster, but that's irregardless of
How
good the individual was.
How that year? How did
If
Steph
you
have a
put
better roster?
Draymond on the
No, right now, we're
Trailblazers,
talking
they're
right
winning
now,
more
we're talking
games
right
this
now.
year.
No, but he's talking about Steph Curry. No, he was talking about Steph Curry 2 years ago when he made All NBA. When
Yeah,
his
that's
team-
the
But
point
this
he
year
was
as well.
making for why Lillard deserves to be
Yeah,
there.
but I'm saying,
talking
like,
right
listen,
I'm
now.
saying back then, how did Steph have a better team than Dame does right now?
He had Draymond Green the entire season. If Draymond Green was in the Portland Trailblazers, they would have won more games this year in the Warriors.
Okay,
I'm
see,
very
I
confident.
love Draymond, but this is where it gets to the point where people are starting to put a little too much stock
He's one of
into
the 5 best
Dame.
defenders in the world and one of the 5 best playmakers at his position. You mean to tell me for a Trailblazers defense that was bottom 5 this year, if you put a defensive player of the year on that squad, the Warriors want to take a massive step back?
Okay,
when
but
without
look at it
Draymond
this way.
this year,
You're giving
they were
Dame a lot of credit for like Portland's
the worst defense. With Draymond on the floor, the Warriors were the best defense in the NBA. That's the type of player Steph Curry gets to play with. One of the greatest defenders we have ever seen. You put him in Portland, I guarantee you they're winning 45 games at least.
John, wait. Oh, no, wait, never mind.
Right now, I'm looking at the numbers right now. But if you're going to give Dame, if you're going to give like Draymond that much credit for Golden State's defense and not the fact that they're that cohesive, but you're going to sit here and give Dame this much credit for Portland's offense when you have Jeremy Grant having a career year shooting 40% from me, Anthony Simons having a career year shooting 37%.
But they drop off to 112 without him, though. What about that?
I just
119 with him. 7 points better.
Board.
That's a pretty big gap.
Your list kind of makes
sense. But that's your superstar. You expect that when that's your superstar.
The Warriors don't have that big of a gap.
When your list kind of makes sense because of the way you've laid it out, so it's hard for me to.
Let me put it this way, Brandon. All NBA's 15 best players in the world. Winning, that's going to put Julius Randle on my team. Julius Randle's not more deserving than a top 10 player.
I'm not disagreeing with that. Damian Lillard is freaking
this year. Yes, he is.
I know he is, man. But when you're going in this season, I feel like winning has to matter. And all the guys I have ahead of him on my list are winning. They're in the playoffs.
I have Dame on my All-NBA team. He's just 13.
He's not on mine. No, he's not on mine.
So winning's the only reason to have him off.
No, it's not.
It's
stats. It's stats.
He's got amazing stats. The best year of his career. And he's had
you take
an
wins
impactful...
completely out of it, Dame is first team.
Without a doubt.
Okay, but I'm not going to do that. I will not do that because then it just becomes a rhythm. What the hell are we playing for? We play to win.
This is all NBA. It's the best players in the world. It's not how many games you won. That's bullshit.
That's why I asked you, does winning matter?
That plays a role in it. That's like a tiebreaker between players. But that's for you. That takes Dame, who is a first-team All-NBA performer without wins, off your list entirely.
Yes.
So you're clearly way too biased about wins.
No, it's
and
not.
that's affecting your judgment.
You act like all the other guys on my list.
I can't value your All-NBA opinion. If that's going to be the entire reason why he's not All-NBA, I can't value that opinion. I can't. I can't take it seriously.
You act like all my other guys on the list are trash. You act like all the other guys on my list are garbage.
Dame has been much better this year than all those guards like Devin Booker. Devin Booker's missed a ton of time this year. A ton of time.
Okay, but
and the Suns
so is Dame.
Playoffs.
Okay, but if you're gonna do
that
right now,
games,
how are you?
Damian Lillard was much better than Devin Booker.
Are you comfortable?
A full level above Devin.
Comfortable with guys like Donovan Mitchell, John Morant, Devin Booker's not on my all NBA teams this year either way. But are you comfortable with all these guards? Potentially a guy like De'Aaron Fox, who had a insane season, getting snubbed because you want to put Dame on the first team.
De'Aaron Fox is on my team.
I'm just saying right now. I think there's plenty of guards that have been not only as offensively impactful as Dame, but they're also on teams that they provide a certain level of impact that they win. I understand Portland's defense sucks. Part of the reason why it sucks is because of Dame. I understand that I understand offensively they're great. That doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
Blame it on the roster construction, but guess what? Your roster construction is gonna cost you some awards. Guess he could have been the MVP conversation if Portland was winning this year.
You have to take
not going to be because guess what?
If that's the case, then MVP. Then you'd have to. The winning has to be taken out for that. It's interesting how you describe it, John. But
at that point, I feel like yeah, we're literally underrating winning way too much.
Yeah. You guys are overlooking. All NBA affects supermax contracts, so to give it to undeserving players who are not top 10 players is going to completely mess up the salary structure for the truly best 15 players in the world.
Bro, John,
I locked up for the next 5 years with $250 million. He's good.
Don't set the standard the wrong way, because now the expectation is you have to win games. If it's MVP, wins matter more. But for all NBA, this is individual awards. I think Damian Lillard was a top 10 player this season.
So let me ask you,
but 75%. Also, the reason why I don't even have Shea on my first team because of winning.
Shea's been huge.
So 75% stats for John, 25% winning. Is that the
No,
margin you're looking
stats
at?
is not 75%. It's was Dame a top 10 player because of his
I'm
impact?
asking you how you weigh this award out. So for me, it's 50-50. I look
His
at their
impact,
statistical
his
impact and their
production,
winning
and the
impact.
team, and how vital he was to his team. So impact, effect, and production. Stats are not 75% of my reasoning here. It's when he's on the floor.
Statistical
he was top 10
production
player.
is what you're saying. Statistical production is that.
Yeah,
Like,
but I'm not just going off his 32 points. It's when he's on the floor, the Blazers are
That's
top 2
statistical
offense.
production, my guy. That is literally the definition of statistical production. So that's why I'm saying I'm taking all that into account. I'm not saying just I'm taking all those stats you laid out too, that when he's on the floor, when he's off the floor. That's statistical production.
Yes.
You want to say effect and use semantics, we're going in semantics.
Elite offense.
That's why I'm
is what
saying
he is. He's an elite
75%
offense.
of your rating is statistical production, while 25% would be winning effectiveness. For me, it's 50-50. You say I'm overlooking. I'm literally telling you I'm not. So you have to have the statistical production for me and the winning. Both have to correlate. If one is completely off, I'm sorry, and I've got somebody else who's pretty even, you're getting bumped. That's just how the world works. That's how, for me, in anymore. Maybe not you, but for me it is. This is my first team. Steph Curry, Jaylen Brown, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, and Nikola Jokic as my center.
Jaylen Brown, first team. Whoa.
Is he not averaging
I think
27
you're
points per
bugging a
game?
little bit with that one.
Is he not averaging 27 points per game?
Yeah, but that puts him on my second team because you have right now my first
So
team.
who's the other guy then?
Oh, what this? What do you have
who
Jaylen Brown as
so
a
you said
forward?
Jaylen's
What do
on
you
your
have Jaylen
second
Brown,
team. So
forward
who's
or
the
guard?
other? Well, for me, I have Jay. That's why it's kind of weird for me because Jaylen, for me, I look him as a shooting guard. Maybe he plays small forward.
Yeah,
but...
I have him as a shooting guard too. But I
So
have
who's
my
the
I have my
second
first
guy?
team. I have my first team as
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I have Steph, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and Embiid.
Yeah, Donovan's on my second team.
I have
I
Donovan
have-
first team.
I have Shea,
Respectfully,
Donovan, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and Embiid.
Shea, and who was the other guard?
Donovan.
Shea and Donovan. Gotcha.
Yeah, second team is where it gets a little bit funky, but that's why I have Shea, Luka, Jaylen Brown, Jokic, and freaking how did I forget his name? That other forward.
Giannis?
Bonus?
No.
Sabonis?
Sabonis. There you go.
It's a bonus.
Second team, and then third team. Third team. That's where I have De'Aaron Fox. That's where I have I have De'Aaron Fox. I have LeBron on my. I have LeBron there. I did have Lauri Markkanen, but I was between him and Julius Randle, and I think Julius Randle's just a little bit more deserving this season from how he played.
Yeah, it's interesting because see, look, I understand.
John looks.
John's
How is
reaction to-
Jaylen Brown All NBA above Jason Tatum?
He's not. I have
for
Jason
him. Oh,
Tatum.
and
I have Jason Tatum on the-
Wait, whoa. See, this is the thing. He reacted so bad. Jason Tatum's on my list. You walked away without me explaining that I have Jaylen Brown as a shooting guard on my list. He's a guard for me.
He
So
is not a top
did
two
you not
guard.
listen? Steph, Jaylen Brown, Giannis, Jason Tatum, Jokic.
Jaylen Brown on first team All NBA is absurd.
How is that?
It's not
He's not a
absurd.
top
You're just
15 player in the
It's a
world.
little bit of a push, but it's not absurd.
He's
It's
not top
understandable.
15.
Oh, that's
I'll be
He's
honest, I
not
don't
having a
even-
top 15 season either.
I'll be honest. I don't even have him on my second team.
Is
He's
he
on my
not
third
having a
team,
career
maybe.
year?
No, he's having a great season. But
He's
I
having
think they're
27 points. I think 49% shooting from the field.
And defensively, he's taking a step back in the regular season.
Oh
To
my
me,
God. What's
granted-
Damian Lillard defensively, my guy? Are you really kidding me right now? You want to talk defense?
Yeah.
When has Damian Lillard ever been a top defender?
He makes up for that with the 7 assists.
He
and an
makes up for that
elite
with the numbers. Yeah, disrespect Jaylen Brown. He's taking a step back. On his
First
worst
team
day,
All-NBA
on
is-
his
is
worst day,
ludicrous.
Damian Lillard can't lace up his boots defensively. So what are you talking
We're
about?
talking about this season. Jaylen Brown's nowhere near first team All NBA.
Okay, in your
Nowhere
opinion,
near.
100%, because
He's
you
not
don't
a top
value
15
winning.
player, and he's not
Winning
had a
means
top
a
15
lot to me.
season.
But
Winning
would
means
he
a lot.
even be
All right, let's do
in
this.
consideration as a guard?
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander clears. Dame clears. Steph. De'Aaron Fox, I would also have above him. And Luka Doncic, a top 5 player in the world. I know the Mavericks defense was trash, but in the start of the season, he was an MVP candidate. That's 5 guards right there who are so far and away above Jaylen Brown, I don't
Again,
even think about his name.
Only looking
Then
at
I get to
you're only
Donovan
looking at
Mitchell,
talent.
Devin Booker, and then Jaylen Brown's maybe top 10.
You're
Maybe
not
top
look-
10.
you-
Top
you're-
2 to me is ludicrous. That's absolutely
You're
ridiculous.
only looking at talent when I've literally laid out my definition. And you don't want to go at my definition. You want to go at
Also,
your
I feel like you're
definition.
underrating Jaylen Brown a little bit there because that's kind of.
Is he on the level of Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Damian Lillard, or De'Aaron Fox? Maybe De'Aaron, right? Maybe. But De'Aaron this year has been a more important player to his team.
I mean, we were
When you
talking
wa-
Jaylen Brown. Can he be number one on a
I have
championship team?
Luka and Jaylen Brown on my second team. The problem with all NBA team is that they fluctuate because of production and winning each season.
Mhm.
That's why they fluctuate. And if you're
That's why
gonna
you're not
fluctuate them
listening
this
to the
season,
words.
I can understand why somebody would make the reach of putting him on their first team. I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
that's
do it.
fair. That is completely fair. If your definition you don't take, which I'm agreeing with you, John, your thing is winning doesn't take that much impact into your all NBA, and that's completely fair because that's your opinion. Me, winning means 50-50. And I just explained to you before that if the stats are here with you, right? Lillard is going to be a little bit higher than him, or whatever higher, but winning here, they're the second best team in the entire NBA.
And also I love
Sorry,
Dame,
man.
but I just
The Celtics are a
I feel like
50-win
we're just-
team
I feel
still
like-
without Jaylen Brown.
I feel like people are just throwing too many awards and too many things at Dame for consistently losing. It's and I understand it's not always his fault. It's not always his fault, but it's just too much consistent losing. Yet we keep giving him these awards. When there's other guys, I feel like they're a little more deserving. I would have Jaylen Brown on the NBA All NBA first team before Damian Lillard.
Dame just had his best season.
Yes, his best statistical season.
It's
No,
again,
not-
we're
that
arguing.
was-
We're
that was
not going to
PG.
get to the bottom of it because we all
To
have
be honest-
we have
no,
different
but to be
definitions
honest-
and we're on two different sides of the park. We're both on different sides of the street. We're never going to come to a conclusion with this because John's definition, our definition is completely different, like I've explained multiple times. So I know Justin has to get out of here soon, so I do want Justin to quickly give his first round playoff predictions before he heads out, so we can at least just have that from him.
All right,
Okay.
so we can come back to the All NBA stuff. All right.
Yeah, we can go back to that if you want to. I just want to get Justin's first round playoff predictions first. So Justin, first up, Nets versus Sixers.
That's a walk in the park. I'll take the Sixers in 5.
Sixers and 5. Celtics versus Hawks.
I think Celtics sweep.
All right. Knicks and Cavs.
I swear to God.
You know where he's going.
I know
You
he's
know,
going with,
my-
but if he's
My thing is, I don't know how Julius Randle is. I haven't seen any
I
reports
think
on
he's
it
supposed to play game 1. I think
he's
I
supposed
saw
to
to
come back
play.
game 1.
and to what capacity
Yeah.
that may be.
Probably
Uh,
not great. That ankle injury was tough.
I'm gonna say Knicks in 7.
fair.
Oh,
So next up, we got Warriors versus Kings.
I'm gonna take the Kings in 6.
Okay. Bucks versus either Heat or Bulls.
If the Bucks are facing the Heat, I'm taking the Bucks in 6.
Mhm.
If they're playing the Bulls, it's a sweep.
stop giving us credit. That's over in 5.
I
Uh,
have too much respect for Jimmy Buckets and Eric Spoelstra.
You
Nuggets versus either the OKC Thunder or Minnesota Timberwolves.
Nuggets in 5.
Grizzlies versus Lakers.
I had this conversation yesterday with a coworker, and after what I saw out of the Lakers in the play-in game, and we spoke about them, and I had mentioned their inconsistency.
Uh-huh.
I think ultimately they're too inconsistent to get by Memphis. I'm going to take Memphis in 6.
All right. And finally, Clippers versus the Suns.
Kevin Durant is playing ball. I think the Clippers are overrated. I'm going to go Suns in 5.
All right.
Also, PG's not
That is
playing.
Justin Ray's playoff first round predictions.
Let's see.
Hold on.
Gentlemen, I'll see you guys. Let's go Knicks. By the time we meet next, game 1 will have been played.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, I am rooting for your Miami Heat because you're my guy.
No, we
Yeah,
need to be in the
all right.
lottery. Get it,
Have
please.
a very wonderful day.
We need a lottery.
I'll see you guys. Peace out, guys. Stay classy.
So the All NBA discussion.
Let's go back to
So I think Jaylen Brown's a top 20 player, and I think he is definitely an All NBA consideration. He's on my third team, barely, and I just feel like while wins do matter a lot, you have to really take into account who's the best player, I think, in all NBA.
Hmm.
Because this is, at the end of the day, this is individual stuff. And I feel like last year, or in any season, if we overvalue team success, then we're not truly putting out there the 15 best players. And in my eyes, Jaylen Brown is just not on the same level of player as those 5 guards I mentioned before. And you can take De'Aaron Fox out of it because I think Jaylen's better than De'Aaron. De'Aaron just had a better season. But between Luka, Shea, Steph, and Dame, I just think those guys are like low-end MVP candidates. They're on the long list for MVP. Whereas Jaylen may be a top 15 player, and he would be like, not in that level, not that tier to me.
And again, I hear exactly where you're coming from. It's we completely disagree on, and listen, I hear what you're saying with we can't overvalue team success, but John, it is not like I am putting like Trae Young on my first All NBA. We know Jaylen Brown is an elite player in this league. Like, I'm not putting a scrub over these guys. We've been talking about for the last year, can Jaylen Brown be a number 1 on a championship team? And I know we haven't seen it because he's been labeled the number 2 just because I guess Celtics fans love Jason Tatum more. All right. We haven't seen Jaylen Brown be able to do that because he hasn't, been alone. You've seen from those other guys, but it's just fundamentally we disagree. Like, I would hear your point if I had some scrub on there, but I feel like Jaylen Brown is not no scrub. I mean, you were like, he's not even top 15. Now you've kind of softened because you realized, you've kind of overblown because you freaked out a little too much on that, and that's fine. Has Damian Lillard statistically had a better season than Jaylen Brown? Yeah, I gave you that. But when I take winning into consideration too, Jaylen Brown's the second best player on his team, not by a lot either. Like Tatum and Brown are right there. They are the duo. All right. I'm giving it to them. And both the Celtics top 2 dogs are in my first team.
I wanted to end on this thought. In my mind, this is how my brain works.
Mm-hmm.
Who is more important to team success? That's the question. That's where my solution lands.
That's fair. I think without Jaylen Brown, they definitely wouldn't be the second best team in the NBA.
So real quick, I want to do this momentarily. Is Jaylen Brown a top 15 player? If we go through the list,
15, maybe a little bit of a stretch.
top
I'd have
20?
to-
Definitely
Jaylen
top
Brown,
20.
top 20 player.
Yeah,
Definitely top 20.
Okay.
I think you can easily make the argument he's top 15 though.
You can make the argument that he's top 15,
I'd have
but
to have
definitely
the
top
list
20.
in front of me.
Well, I've got the list.
Well, my list, because I know our lists are completely different, but yeah, I think he's you can make the easily argument he's top 15.
Okay, we won't go through it now, but I think we'll come back to this in the
Yeah, I
offseason.
think we've had
Do you think like Jaylen Brown's 27 is like a Zach LaVine 27?
A little bit.
That's crazy.
But Zach LaVine is effortless. He's an underrated
Then I
player.
don't think you're taking into consideration again the defense, and you say he dropped down. He's still better than both those guys on his worst night defensively.
Yes, but he actually is a lot like Zach LaVine. We're on the ball. LaVine is a pretty
No,
good
he's not wrong. Scoring, he's definitely is a lot like Zach LaVine, and he does. Problem with Jaylen Brown is that sometimes when he does score, it's out of the flow of the offense. A lot, not a lot, but he's definitely gotten better over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is, like I said, he is. I think the reason he wasn't crowned as the best is because he has taken increments to get better every single year. I think he averaged 7 points his rookie year, and he's gotten better every single year.
And his decision making in the pick and roll, handling the ball in certain passes definitely needs to get better. It's the same problem they had last year, and he still has that problem this year.
Yeah.
But even with those considering.
If this was that year where the Trailblazers were still a top 4 team,
Not even top
West,
4. They just have to make the playoffs.
I would be putting Damian Lillard on my first team.
If Dame was a 9th seed in the play and winning 40 games this year, I would have him probably on my first team. Is the fact that they won 33 games this season. He literally just they sat him because he's just like, yeah, there's no point anymore. And when you look at some of the games he was scoring so high level in, they kept losing. And part of that is because of the defense, but part of that is the defense when he's on the floor.
That's reasonable. So we can do the second and third team All-NBAs. No, if you guys would like, I know we spent a lot of time right there.
I mean, yeah, for me, my second team is De'Aaron Fox, Donovan Mitchell, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, and Joel Embiid.
We have the same exact second team.
And then my third team is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Devin Booker, Jimmy Butler, AD, and Sabonis.
I
My
agree
first,
with Sabonis being the third team center over. I think Sabonis is more deserving to be All NBA than Anthony Davis. He's played more games.
Well, I have
and-
AD in mind. I just put AD as a power forward.
Okay.
And I know he's not. It's just listen. This is the next year will be much easier because of the position list. So
First team, I got D, Mid, Steph, Tatum, Giannis, and Embiid. Second team, I got Luka, Jaylen Brown, Braun, Jimmy, and Jokic. And then third team, I have De'Aaron Fox, Damian Lillard, Laurie Markkinen, Julius Randle, and Sabonis.
I was actually wrong. I have De'Aaron third team. I have Steph and Donovan second team with whoever comes second in MVP at center. So I think that'll be Jokic. And then my two forwards are Kawhi and LeBron. My third team would then be. This is tough. The sixth.
I can't put Kawhi because of literally how little he played, and early in the year, even when he was playing like cheeks.
Kawhi still played 50 games.
that's where my list was cut. If you, I had a cutoff in my own mind. I said 50 or more games. That's why KD's not on my list. He didn't play 50. My cutoff is 50 or more games you have to play to enter this conversation for me.
I did have Kevin Durant as my
Because KD, if he played 50 games or more, I think he'd probably
First team.
I
First
had him
team
third
or-
team
yeah,
forward
second.
over Julius Randle. My third team would be
If KD could play like 60 games this season at the production he was, I would have had him
was,
first team
yeah.
over Tatum.
I mean, well, it would have been a historical season. He would
Yeah, I would have
he
had
would
him
have done when
definitely.
he's doing 55, 40, and 90. Never mind that.
Yeah, but yeah, I would have had him over Tatum.
so I said my first team and my second. My third team would have De'Aaron Fox and DeMontis Sabonis, two Kings on the same squad. I would have Kevin Durant above Julius Randle because to me he's top 5 player in the world. And those 47, I'll take 47 games of Kevin Durant before I take 70 of Julius Randle. And then alongside those three guys, I'm still torn with my second guard spot.
Booker? No.
I'm gonna go John Morant over Devin Booker. The Grizzlies this year have been a 50-win team. I mean, they're so good at they're 35-6 at home, and he is such a great fit because they don't have much shooting. It doesn't matter. And then my second forward alongside Kevin Durant.
I'm gonna be honest. If Dame doesn't
It would be
make a
Luka,
team
yeah.
on third team, if Dame doesn't make a team, but you put Ja as the other guard on the third team, I wouldn't mind that either. I'm not gonna lie.
I forgot about Luka, to be honest with you. I
Oh.
guess Luka would be third team for me.
Really?
That's
A
interesting.
couple weeks
See,
ago, Luka was second team. A couple weeks ago for me, Luka was second team. He was actually just like, to me, I was torn between SGA's first team and Luka. Now SGA's in the playoffs. I give him
John,
some edge over
John,
Luka.
let's talk here a second. What is the logic behind Luka third team but Dame first team?
No, I
here
just
when-
forgot about Luka. I'll be honest with you.
just
I
look-
think
Then
Luka
would
would be
Luka,
second team.
if that's your
No,
criteria
that's the
for
thing.
why
So
Dame
let me-
should be,
let me
should
finish.
not Luka be in that position?
I would have Luka on my second team, and then I'm gonna take LeBron and put him on my third with Kevin Durant.
Okay, then
I'm gonna leave
is it-
Kawhi
is
and
it
Luka
just-
on my
is
second.
is this just that I really like Dame take then?
No, it's just that you can only have two guards in your first team, and I think Luka was the odd man out. And because his team didn't make the play-in, just like Dame, he had a little bit of a worse season. I'm going to bump him down to second
a
team.
little bit worse of a season. 38 versus 33 games. I don't know. And I don't know production wise if Luka had a worse season than Dame. That's kind of
No, he
crazy.
didn't. He had more assists, obviously more rebounds.
Okay,
But
so when the
Dame
team's
to
winning,
me-
when the team was winning a little bit more, and you have better production,
Dame to me just had a better season than Luka, considering how good he made Portland's offense. A 119, that's like Denver levels, and a 112 without him, that's you know.
again, I
Maybe
think you're
the
giving
Thunder?
Dame a lot of credit for the offense when that team was built to be great offensively. You have shooters everywhere.
Yusuf
Versus-
Nurkic ain't a shooter. Drew Eubanks was
Hey,
turned
at the 5.
Yeah, I mean Yusuf Nurkic is a.
Oh no,
backup
Yusuf
starter.
Nurkic is cooked. I understand that, but,
But
you have
no.
Anthony Simon, Shaden Sharp that's showing a lot of shooting touches this year. Jeremy Grant who's shooting 40% from 3. Like you have 4 guys on that starting lineup that can all shoot 37% plus, and you have a guy like Dame that has that deep of a range and that good of a playmaker. I think you're obviously gonna have that good of an offense.
You know,
But-
I don't have my list in front of me. I couldn't find the shit.
I have it in my
But
notes.
Luka fell off the first team, and then I'd have him on my second, right next to Kawhi. Then I'll bump LeBron. So let me just repeat this. My second team All NBA would be Steph Curry, Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic, Kawhi Leonard, and then the center. We'll go with Jokic. My third team would then have LeBron and Kevin Durant at my forward spots, Domantas Sabonis at center, with my two guards being De'Aaron and Ja Morant. So Luka was first team. The last couple of weeks, he slightly fell down to second, but it wasn't really as much as him not playing well, though defensively he was a pretty big reason.
Actually,
it was more so just the fact that Luka was the odd man out on my first team.
I'll make some
He was a top 5 player early in the season.
I'll make some changes to my forward spot. I will take Jimmy out completely off either team, and I would put Julius second, and I'd put Pascal third.
Julius Randle's over Jimmy again. We saw in 2021 how that went.
Yeah, one of them is gonna be in the playoffs. The other one probably isn't. I don't care anymore. Like I'm done giving this Heat team. I'm done making arguments for Bam winning Defensive Player of the Year, Jimmy being All NBA or an All Star. When this is the product that we're getting. Maybe that's just a little too much of a personal connection to my own team, but they piss me off way too much, bro.
Don't you think that's just because there are specific players and they'd be built around very well, and unlike 2020 and 2022, they just haven't had the support. That's the reason they're not performing up to par.
That's the reason why De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis is on a team right now. You build a team perfectly around them. That's the reason. There's the reason why you have Donovan Mitchell on a team. You have a team that's perfectly built around him that actually mitigates some of his weaknesses. Your team construction and how good your team is always going to be played into this factor. But at the end of the day, you're the offensive engine for this team. So I can't really just take it out. I can't just use that against you.
That's reasonable. Okay. So I do want to just kind of brush past the all defense for the sake of time and move forward to our first round matchups. So we've got the Nets versus the Sixers, and I think Mikal Bridges has something to prove in this matchup, being traded from the 76ers on draft night, and I think they're going to take a game. Brooklyn will, the same way.
I thought you were going to say so. I thought you were going to say 7. I think they can take 2. I think
they're going to go to 5 games, but I just don't think Nick Claxton stands much of a chance against Joel Embiid in the post, and being Philadelphia is healthy. They still have not beat a real team yet, but I think this Brooklyn team, that you can make the case this is the second best team they beat in the playoffs after last year's Toronto. And I'm expecting James Harden in this series to do well because, Dorian Finney-Smith to me he's not going to stop Joel Embiid and James Harden.
In a first round series, James Harden most likely always does well. So I have no issues with either their production in the first round of these playoffs. What's really going to be the thing for me and Philly in this series, because I think this is going to go 5 or 6 games, is watching Doc Rivers' rotation and how he coaches this team, because that's going to tell me what the next series against Boston is going to look like. And if he's already screwing up against freaking Brooklyn, and if he's getting outcoached by Jacques Vaughn, and it's just his talent that's getting him over the edge. But right now, first round series, yeah, easy Philly, 5 or 6.
Yeah. For me, it's I think I honestly expect Philly in 5, and I think that they should. And honestly, I think they need to prove a point here. I just don't.
Toronto almost came back last year.
If this goes to 6 games, it's a red flag.
I know it's just like, listen, man, we already have talks the entire season that they're the 3rd team in the East, and there's a pretty big margin between the top 2 and then Philly. Yeah. So if they need to come in here and they need to handle business, kind of like Milwaukee and
give themselves rest.
Boston are going to, and the rest too, because I think while Harden's going to play, I think he's still dealing with that Achilles, and you never know with Embiid. I mean, the guy could have a stomach bug
last year.
Yeah, the guy could also have a stomach bug too. He gets sick.
He's just a magnet for things hitting his face, bro.
Yeah, just bad. So I got the Philly in 5. I just don't think the Nets have the star power to compete with the Philadelphia 76ers. So,
he broke his face 2 times.
Right.
Injured. Last year, I think he had 4 freaking injuries.
He had a facial fracture, concussion, finger.
And then the thing about Joel Embiid is that Philly fans like to act like there's these outwards factors that lead to his bad performances. And ever since he's been a superstar, ever since Philly's been in the playoffs, 2018 when he lost to Boston, that was without Kyrie and Jaylen. And I think in the closeout game, he goes 1 for 6 in the 4th. When they're down 2-0, he goes 10 for 26 in game 3, and they lose that one to go down 3-0. Then you look at 2019 versus the Raptors. He shat the bed. He's the reason they lost that series. They should, if he played like he regularly should, they would have won that series handedly.
And I've seen Sixers fans blaming JJ like Joel didn't shoot 37% from the field.
Exactly. Then you look at 2020.
What JJ's gonna do?
I'm not gonna give him too much flack for the bubble because he didn't have Jason.
So
He didn't
bad.
He
have.
still got swept.
He didn't. Yeah, he got swept, but he didn't have Ben Simmons. I think they would have still lost the series.
Yes.
But I understand.
Josh
I understand. I'm not gonna give him too much problems when he played well. 2021 is the only like run where I think he literally played the best he could, and he just got sold.
Yeah.
I do
But-
think
and then-
James. There's a lot of pressure on James Harden. I think the Sixers to compete with the Celtics and the Bucks and to win a championship this year, they need Harden to be
Closer to his
not-
MVP level.
not
closer.
exactly Houston Harden, but they need more than what they've gotten throughout the regular season. They still need the assist and facilitator, but they need Harden to take another step forward because I'm telling you, when it gets tight in games, Boston and Milwaukee, those guys are going to be able to stifle Joel Embiid. All right, they're going to be able to double him much easier, and he's going to have to kick it out. And that's where you're going to need Harden. You're going to need
all
Tobias
depends-
Harris too, and Tyrese Maxey to step up in these playoffs late. So
It's
pressure.
Philly making a championship run is going to be one. I expect Joel to probably offensively, if there's no injuries, Joel probably is going to be okay. The whole thing is James Harden hitting spot up threes and being able to hit any twos, and Tyrese Maxey's being able to attacking closeouts and making decisions because they're gonna try to run him off the three, and it's all just Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, all those guys decision making coming off when guys run him off the three in a Boston series is gonna be the biggest factor. Because you're going to have to make some tight decisions in those plays because Boston's not going to give you any rest. If you make one bad decision, that's a turnover going the other way.
Harden's got to be a little more aggressive, get some fouls like he used to, and stuff like. And then Doc, go ahead, John.
I think this is the year where we admit James Harden's a playoff fraudulent. Is it?
What do you mean? This is
We always. He's always a
Did
fraud.
I fumbled.
Do I have to pull out the list?
I think
I
this.
can pull out the list.
I think this is the season where we acknowledge.
If
James
they lose
Harden is a
bad-
playoff fraud.
Where?
If he loses bad, I think he falls down further on that street. Because I have him as fourth right now. I may put him at 5 or 6 behind Jerry West and Allen Iverson if he chokes again.
Since 2011, James Harden has yet to shoot above 41% in a Game 7. I mean, for his career, he shoots 37%. When he's not getting the foul calls, he's not the same. type of scorer.
Inefficient.
But
The
here's
pro-
the other thing. I don't like to harp on the turnovers because his teams are always turnover free. It's
And
just a
Achilles
matter of him in this stage of his career not being able to make a two-pointer. He can't get to the rim. He's incorporated the mid-range stuff, but in a Milwaukee or Boston series, that's not going to fly. And when he gets to those soft areas where it's reliant on tougher shot making, and he tries to draw the foul and he doesn't get it, I think he really does become a fraud. And I'm not saying that to hate on the guy. 'Cause I do think he's an
I'll
all-time.
hate.
I think he should have won a
not hate, this is
championship in
facts.
2018, but it
I can
comes
throw some
down
hate in there.
to him not being able to perform in the biggest moments. I mean, he almost lost to Oklahoma City. He had the block on Lou Dort, yeah, but he shot 26% in that game. He went 4 of 15. In the last game versus Milwaukee, he played through the hamstring injury. I get that. But how about against the Clippers in 2015 at 35% from the field? I just don't think James Harden's going to win a championship.
John, that
That's
door.
kind of my
that door-
epiphany. And I hope he does. I hope he proves me wrong. But I get the feeling James Harden's going to be this decade's Karl Malone. Without the pedophilia, of course.
That
I
block-
would say Steve Nash, not Karl Malone.
But here's the thing. Karl Malone had some of the most dominant MVP seasons. Some of the most dominant seasons that resulted in multiple MVPs. And the same goes for James Harden, where he's only got one MVP, but he's had more than one MVP caliber year.
I understand. I guess if Golden State didn't exist, he'd also have the same finals runs as Karl Malone. He probably would have a championship, honestly. But
No doubt. He would have won in 2018, I believe.
I'm not gonna lie. If it was between Braun and a Houston team, I would have taken Braun. I'm not gonna lie. I would
No
for
Kyrie?
2018 Braun, I would put more stock in Harden choking in that matchup versus Braun not being enough. I'm not gonna lie. If it wasn't going, I'm not those 4 years. If it wasn't Golden State, I'm putting a ring on Braun's finger. If it wasn't Golden State,
Okay, fair. I just wanted to say that block, John, you reminded me of that door block. That I remember that pissed me off so much when he was so hyped that he blocked Dort.
Lou
I
Dort.
was like, you really?
Damn, you went to game
Really,
7.
you're gonna be like, come on, man, really?
That series was bad.
Well,
I know
let's move on.
Westbrook was, yeah, please. Celtics at Hawks. Atlanta showed us versus Miami.
Or
Look, this Atlanta team is healthy. John Collins, Bogey, Clint Capella had one of his best games, and the Hawks just had their best offensive rebounding game of the year, 42%. Look, I do think Atlanta, when Trae Young is playing unselfish and actually working off the ball, is a legitimate playoff team that can win a series.
that's fine and all, John.
We know DeJounte Murray is an empty calories guy. I've always felt like he is a little bit overrated, and we saw that in the playing game. I'm not big on DeJounte, and I'm also not big on the Hawks' chances to make this much of a competitive series versus the Celtics. So just like their brethren in the Brooklyn Nets, I have the Hawks taking the Celtics series to 5 games. They're going to get one game like they did last year, but I have a really tough time seeing Clint Capella playing as well as he did in that Miami playing game versus Boston with how much shooting, ball handling, and just cumulative playmaking between all of their players playing unselfish basketball. And that's why the Celtics will win this convincingly.
It's the worst possible matchup for Atlanta. It really is. You have a guard and a forward that handles the ball that's gonna force switches on Trae all freaking game. You have Marcus Smart that can probably bully Trae down there in the post too.
Tyler Heroes make him look like chump change. Imagine.
Exactly. Right now, getting to the rim for Trae is gonna be damn near impossible because they're gonna switch every single pick and roll, and then you're gonna have to make a lot of floaters over Rob Will. You're gonna have to prove that you're gonna DeJounte Murray is just not gonna be offense enough, especially scoring one-on-one. Scoring one-on-one in any of those Celtics is just not gonna work. And overall, DeAndre Hunter is going to be the guy that the Celtics can't cover anybody. So they're going to cut off the 1 and 2, and DeAndre Hunter is going to have to be the guy that produces a little bit more. And I don't think he's at that level where he can produce to the point where this isn't a 4 or 5 game series. They really don't have a chance. If you play a drop against Boston with the way Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum shoots the mid range, Clint Capella is going to be food. If you hedge that, Atlanta doesn't have the defense. And the defense good enough to rotate fast enough to make Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum's playmaking problems an actual issue.
Yeah. And by the way, Tatum's a stinky mid-range shooter. I want to add that in, but he can make it.
For me, so I'm in agreement. I got Boston 5. I'll give Atlanta respect of winning 1 game at home.
Better than me.
Other than that, I expect Boston honestly slice through these boys.
Talk about slicing.
Well,
Knicks.
all right.
Knicks Cavaliers. I see a lot of Knicks fans getting hyped up.
I got the
Knicks
Cavs
have a really,
6.
really good bench, and the Cavaliers have a really good starting lineup that had the best net rating this season. I think Cleveland has.
Oh, they didn't have enough minutes?
Pardon?
I thought Golden State had the best starting lineup, or did they not have enough minutes?
No, the best
to
net
qualify?
rating.
Yeah, Golden State was plus 22.
I said they won the best. So the Knicks, they do like to do one thing in Tom Thibodeau, and that's leave a shooter open. And that's what helped them in 2021 be an elite defense. And the Cavaliers are a team that doesn't have a small forward. And I look at Isaac Okoro, who's kind of their starter, but not really. I don't know how Isaac Okoro is going to finish this series. And I think the Knicks are going to leave him open. He's going to make some threes some games, but there's going to be other games where the Cavaliers get nothing offensively after their backcourt. And I worry about their offense off the bench, where the Cavaliers might have the worst bench of any playoff team. Like, you're going with, oh man, Danny Green and Ricky Rubio, both coming off torn ACLs in their mid-30s. Cedi Osman, Dean Wade, who also missed a lot of time this year, and your backup big is Robin Lopez, who hasn't gotten much opportunity. I think this Knicks second unit with Josh Hart and Emmanuel Quickley is going to dominate those minutes. And by the end of the series, Donovan Mitchell is going to be a little bit worn out. I know he's been in good shape this year. I think this is going to 6 games. I also think the Cavaliers are winning, but I really do believe this Knicks bench is going to make this a lot more competitive, a 6-game series, than we typically see.
I think game one and game one. I think here's the thing. Right now with Cleveland, the problem with I think the thing that really that's going to be the difference maker is if they can pick up the pace in the playoffs. They're the slowest team in the NBA, I think, right?
30th.
Yeah, they're the slowest team in the NBA. And if the Knicks defense this year isn't as good as it was a couple years ago, which is obvious because you have somebody who's a little bit of defensive liability in Jalen Brunson at the point guard spot. But the difference maker is if they can pick up the pace and at least get out in the break a little bit more, this opens up their offense a lot more. The problem why I think Donovan Mitchell is probably gonna get tired is because they're gonna have to do so much stuff in the half court. That's a lot of movement. That's a lot of pick and roll. That's a lot of body contact. Versus if you get out in the break, it's a couple quick buckets here and there. So that's gonna be the little bit of a difference. If the Knicks are turnover prone and the Cleveland Cavaliers can at least, I don't know, pick up the pace from a 95 to a 90, 98, 99 range. Oh no, this series is over in 5. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The offense is just way too potent. Julius Randle's coming off an injury, and you have somebody that can guard him really well in Evan Mobley or JRey Allen. It doesn't matter which one you put on him. I don't see the bench being too much of a problem in a first-round series because I know Donovan Mitchell is probably going to still play like 40 minutes. He's probably going to be tired at the end of it, and then that series against the Bucks is going to suck. But against this first round, I don't think his fatigue is going to be a problem against the Knicks. It's going to be a problem in the later rounds.
Yeah, for me, I got the Cavs in 7. I think this is going to be a very hard-fought and tough series, grinding series. I agree with you guys. But one thing we got to remember in the playoffs, they don't go that deep in the bench. I mean, you usually find either your 7 or 8 best guys and you put them out there. There's no really 9, 10, 11 deep in the playoffs. So, and I just say, listen, Spida is the best player on the court. And I think he's going to have something to say and something to prove for New York not plunging for him. So I think he's going to have a great series. I think Darius Garland is going to be somebody who's going to have to show up to help alleviate some of the pressure on Donovan Mitchell. I think Evan Mobley is going to probably shut Julius Randle down. And I got the Cavs in 7, so it'll be tough though. I'm not trying to disrespect Justin's Knicks or the New York Knicks. I'm giving them respect by saying in 7, but
I gave him respect in 2021. Then Julius Randle shot 29% versus.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we also have to worry. I mean, I'm saying 7. If the Knicks have not fixed their problem, and I mean specifically like Julius Randle and RJ Barrett and these guys about, we all know the weaknesses that can be exploited on them. If they have not fixed these problems, this could be over in 5.
Sorry, Justin, but I mean, I also think the Cavaliers are the 2 best players in the series, in Darius and Donovan, because Julius Randle showing that Hawks series was hideous. And until he proves he can against a set defense, forcing him really great, especially against high-level defenders like Evan Mobley, it's tough to just pencil him in as a true star in this setting because he has pretty big vulnerabilities. And the Cavaliers have a pretty good front court on defense. Yeah, so yeah, I agree with you. Now, talking about a pretty good defensive team, the Bucks are going to play TBD. I think
either one they're going to get the
I think the Bulls are going to beat the Miami Heat in this playing game. And
I hope so.
It's just me being like, okay, this Heat team has regressed so much from a shooting standpoint, and
we're 1-3. No, I don't even think we've beaten the Bulls this year, actually.
Yeah, I mean I usually take the inverse of the regular season stuff, whatever happens. So maybe that makes the Heat more likely to win. I just think Zach LaVine is playing so well right now. Well, Jimmy Butler, we'll have a question on him. I don't know if he has the team around him to actually just carry the Heat the way he could the last couple of years. And that's why I just get this gut feeling we're going to see 2.0 of the Bucks versus the Bulls. And that series to me would probably also be a 5-gamer.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, in that Hawks Heat game, I know we didn't shoot particularly well, but I don't think offense was the main issue in that game.
No, was not.
Rebounding.
We could not, rebound, but we could not stop them. And then second chance points, obviously. Honestly, it seemed like to me, late in the third, it just seemed like every freaking board was going straight to the lane.
We could stop them. First possession, we were always stopping. There's the fact that they got 20 offensive rebounds.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it seemed like, I don't know if you guys, but it seemed like every board was starting to go to Atlanta. Like
we were coming back. We were down by 3. They got 2 offensive boards. Now the lead's back up to 10.
Without Kyle Lowry, that would have been a 30-40 point blowout.
If the Hawks didn't shoot 24% from 3, they would have scored 150 points. It shows the Heat have no depth on the front.
Every time Trae Young took those deep threes, I was like, yes, please keep taking those. Please keep taking those. But yeah, in terms of the Bucks, can the Bulls beat us 100 easily? I mean, if they come out with a lot more effort than we do, they'll beat us. But there is something to say. Listen, I can. That game is such a pick 'em. I honestly don't care. I'm with
All I'm
them.
gonna say
I really
is, if
don't
we
give a
lose
crap
that
anymore.
game, the video I'm going to make is going to break my mic. Is going to break my mic.
Yeah, the Miami Heat. So for me, I'll just say if it's Miami, I'll say Bucks in 5. If it's the Bulls, I think the Bucks will be able to sweep them. To be honest with you, so
More relevant series. The Nuggets will be playing one of the Thunder or the Timberwolves. I think the Thunder will win this game, and I think that series will also be. I think that'd be a 5-game series because Shea is probably gonna
I'll give him
perform at a
one.
high
I'll give him
level, and
one.
Josh Giddey last night was
So
phenomenal.
beautiful.
Elimination game. You're the 10th seed. You've got your back, or maybe you're 9th, whatever it was. You've got your season on the line. He puts up a 31-point triple-double. I think he got it. And just, he makes the game look so simple. Josh Giddey has no bag, and he doesn't really need it because his drives are so straightforward. He's 6'8", and he's one of the greatest passers I've seen. Not just
That floater is money.
the floater's pretty good. It's not just the fact that he's got creativity and it's flashy, but his passing vision is one of a kind. So I think that series versus the Thunder would be a really competitive 5-gamer. I don't think any of these playoff matchups are a wash. And Oklahoma City does defend very well. It's just they have literally nobody to defend Jokic in the post. Absolutely. And given he is, kind of taking the last month off, he's got a lot of rest. I think that's probably going to be a sweep, to be honest with you.
yeah, the one team that could realistically is the Minnesota Timberwolves with Rudy Gobert there. So
The thing
I'll say
is,
if
wait, doesn't Jokic like routinely cook Rudy though?
Yeah. Have you seen
I'm not. I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm just saying the only guy that you would think could.
I just
hold
remember
the
one
candle
time
would be
Jokic was like
Rudy.
telling a story where Rudy Gobert was like talking trash. And he's like, "Brother, I have 40." Like,
I got him. I was like, brother, 46
I'm not surprised.
points.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. But I'll say if Minnesota wins the game, I think they can push it to 6. To be honest with you, I think they match up somewhat well against Denver. The other guys, I think Denver will be able to take them in 5.
I think they match up well if they had Jaden McDaniels. They don't anymore. He broke his hand. So
That's a great point. That's a great point.
because if you had Jaden McDaniels, you always can have a roamer on offense on MPJ because MPJ is not going to be always on the ball. You can have somebody that can chase him around screens and make it tough. So you'd put Jaden McDaniels ideally on Jamal Murray and Anthony Edwards on Michael Porter Jr. But without Jaden McDaniels, now you don't have that. You either gonna have to sacrifice Ant on Jamal Murray, and you're just gonna have to hope that who is their starting 3 now? Torian Prince. You're just gonna have to hope Torian Prince is always engaged enough to always be able to communicate off those always drop DHO screens for Michael Porter Jr., the backdoor cuts, all of that. And without Jaden McDaniels there, without that impact, if it's the Timberwolves, I see that probably being over in 5 because again, Rudy defensively has dropped off so much and he's never really been able to contain Jokic. So that's a foregone conclusion to me. I think the person that would make that series competitive is Cat. But again, do you trust Cat to actually play well? Let's be real here.
Yeah. One series I think is going to be a great one. This will be
Lakers Grizzlies is going to be some movie.
It's going to be a movie until you realize last year Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, and D'Angelo Russell were all exposed by the Grizzlies. And hey, maybe those players just aren't that good in the playoffs for as good as they are in the regular season. I'm a big deal regular season guy, right? But for this Lakers team, do they have the better duo in LeBron AD? Oh, yeah, for sure. I would say Anthony Davis is a clear level above Jaren Jackson. I mean, defensively, he was switching on to guards in the last playing game. He's a wrecking ball. But the Grizzlies do have a more proven coach in Taylor Jenkins and a more proven supporting cast of guys like Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane. Dylan Brooks is going to be guarding LeBron. He's probably one of the 3 best wing defenders and one of the best matchups for James because he is nonstop. And then you look down the roster, no Steven Adams. That is going to hurt. No Brandon Clark.
Yep.
But you do have Luke Kennard, who's going to allow you to have a shooter on the floor at all times. You pair that up with Xavier Tillman, who's a pretty good backup big, like one of the best backup centers in the league. And I think this Memphis team just has too much continuity and too much flow. John Morant is going to make Anthony Davis work in this series. Last year, he was averaging 40-some-odd points versus the Warriors, 38. And I just don't think we give John Morant enough appreciation in the playoffs. I had the Grizzlies going to 7 games versus the Lakers. Right?
Here's the thing, John. Here's the
But I
thing.
had the Grizzlies winning in 7 games.
Here's the thing. Normally, I love Bron. Again, Bron and D Wade are the reason why I fell in love with basketball. So, certain times I'm always gonna take what I've seen from him all the damn time, and maybe it's just not sinking in the fact that he's 38, but it's just the fact that 2 years. It's just been 2 years since we last saw him in the postseason, and we see him turn it up all the damn time. We've seen him turn it up as the season's gone on, and then it's just injuries, and then him working his way back. That's probably hampered his game. The whole problem with what it is right now is that Steven Adams has been out since January 23rd. Since Jaren Jackson's been back, and before January 23rd, he was averaging 3.1 fouls per game, the lowest mark of his entire career. Since Steven Adams has been out, he's been averaging 4 fouls per game. Now you put that in a Lakers series against a team that's people is trying to make the free throw margin some big issue. Like the past couple years, Houston didn't have like a 10 free throw margin on the entire league all the damn time. But when you put that in a series with guys like AD and Bron, not even Bron has a horrible whistle. When you put that in a series with guys like Austin Reeves, guys like AD that draws fouls as much as they have, he's going to be constantly in foul trouble. If he's able to stay out of foul trouble, that gives Memphis a lot bigger of an advantage. But also, now you don't have your best rebounder against a team in the Lakers with AD looking like he's ready to grab every damn thing. So, the way I look at it right now is right now, if Darvin Ham can figure out that, don't have Jared Vanderbilt just sitting in the corner, just being a non-factor. Put him in action. Run some Spain pick and roll. Make him the screener for the screener. Run some action. Put him in the dunker spot. Like make him cut backdoor. All those. If you can put Jared Vanderbilt in action, that makes him an actual offensive weapon or offensive player they have to worry about on the court. This series is going to be over in 5 or 6. No,
Jared's a good passer. I would get him going.
That's the thing, but I'm saying the whole problem is since Darvin Ham uses Jared so horribly sometimes, is that now you put Jaren on him. Jaren is now a roamer, and that's a problem. Yeah. That's a problem. But now if you find a way to not make him a roamer, or if Rui comes in, at least give you some defensive upside, that wrecks a lot of what Memphis can do. Because at that point you have Jared Vanderbilt on probably Ja. You need a good point of attack defender on Ja. You're gonna have who's there too? You're gonna have D'Lo probably. You either have D'Lo or Austin Reeves.
I think Reeves is gonna guard Ja probably.
I actually think Dennis Schroeder would. I think Dennis Schroeder's
start. He's not starting though.
No, he's gonna finish though because D'Lo's gonna get benched. So just like the playing game.
I think
like I said.
And then you have what's his name? Then you have D'Lo guard Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks is literally Dillon Brooks is not an offensive option sometimes because he will literally shoot you out of games.
Oh no, he's an option.
And then you have Bron. Yeah, then you have AD on Jaren Jackson Jr. You have Bron either on your center as the help side or a little bit as the roamer on the offensive end. Mm-hmm. And I think when you have those lineups and the Lakers are just really deep. And right now, Tyus Jones is dealing with some injuries right now too, so you don't even know how productive he can. Yeah, he is. So right now, when you don't even have your backup big that's that good on the glass, against the Lakers team, if it was a fully healthy Grizzlies team, I'd probably take Grizzlies in 6. But right now, if Darvin Ham at least becomes a competent coach, because he's with these rotations and how he uses Vanderbilt, I think this series is probably over very quickly. I think you just put Jaren Jackson in too much of a horrible position for what he's already shown you about how bad he is at keeping his hands to his damn self. And right, you just don't really have a defender for Bron. I don't care if you think Dillon Brooks has been that great. You're not stopping Bron from probably putting up a good 27 on 50% shooting in this series if he wanted to.
Listen,
it just really all depends on the production you get from probably D'Lo as a shooter and what you get from Malik Beasley coming off the bench.
Yeah. So for me, listen, you guys have hit on almost all the points. There's one you guys haven't hit on, but I'll get to that in a second. I got the Lakers in 6. I could easily see it going 7. The only reason I say 6 is because you're missing Brandon Clark and Steven Adams. And that's major. Again, you guys have hit on a lot of the points. I think AD is going to be attacking Jaren Jackson Jr. LeBron's going to be attacking Jaren Jackson Jr. early and often, get him in foul trouble, get him off the court. And once he's off the court,
the series is over.
I mean, it's a freaking open highway to the rim for AD and LeBron. So, and LeBron is still, I mean, he's
it always just depends on how quick he gets those first 2 fouls.
If Jaren Jackson's foul riddled, the series is over in 5.
Well, I mean, he's going to be in foul trouble. I think I think that is the game plan for Darvin.
If he isn't, if he doesn't get in foul trouble, we have to look at him as a player on a completely different level. If he doesn't get, because that literally his biggest issue just got negated, which is insane.
I just don't. I think eventually a player shows you who he is, and I think he showed you enough is what he is. So. And the biggest point for me, because you guys have hit on a lot of the points, so I'll just go on this one. This and Dylan Brooks brought it up. This is a legacy series for LeBron. In terms of this, is it going to negatively impact his
don't
legacy?
feed into that.
Is it going to negatively impact his legacy harshly? Like, no, it's not. But it is going to be a tad bit of a stain because there are a lot of people, me included, who think the Lakers can make a deep run. There are a lot of people who think the Lakers have a good shot of winning the finals this year, okay? Because they are getting healthy at the right time. They're firing on all cylinders, and it is, I mean, in the NFL, John, I gave you this quote. I forget who said it. It might have been Parcells. You want to run into the playoffs. You want to go into the playoffs hot. Lakers are doing that. They had a little, but for the most part, last month, they've been doing very, very well, especially Anthony Davis.
They going ugly.
And for me, it's just, listen, if that's the case, if you think this team can go that far, there's no excuses for this series. There's none. Honestly, the excuses are on Memphis' side because they're missing Adams and Clark.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, if you lose this series, what's the excuse? What's the excuse, LeBron?
Anthony Davis got hurt.
No, if everything stays healthy, what's the excuse? There is none. So, yes, it is a somewhat of a legacy series for LeBron's case. The last couple seasons, he has not been able to defend his throne. You're able to do it now. No excuses. You got to get the job done.
You got the postseason. You got the team is built to the way that complements his game with shooters, with another ball handler, so he doesn't have to be. He has no excuses to have lapses on the defensive end anymore because you're not handling the ball constantly. What I love about this team specifically is that none of them is afraid to call him out on. You saw last game when he left Torian Prince open. You saw like during his shoulder, like, what the fuck are you doing? Get up there. And Brown's like, my bad. And he played well defensively after that for the rest of the game. You have guys on the team that's willing to tell him and keep him accountable. I just don't think Memphis has enough anymore without Steven Adams, Brandon Clark, with how foul riddled Jaren Jackson to actually like win this series.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be if they take this to 6 or 7 games, that's just saying that Memphis is a little more legit than everybody else thought, especially if they're fully healthy. But this should very much be over in 5 to 6 games.
Whoa, you're sleeping on my man Xavier Tillman. Xavier Tillman is one of the best backups in the game, though. And I do agree, if Jaren gets in foul trouble, Xavier and Santi Aldama are just not going to be enough at the rim.
But how good is the best backup in the NBA when he's guarding Anthony freaking Davis all game?
Xavier's played well offensively, and his issue is always finishing. If he's finishing plays, right, and Jaren's not fouling out every game, I do think they have more than enough at the rim to just limit drives and hold LeBron.
John, you're picking Memphis, right? In 7? You took
Memphis? Hell yeah, I'm picking Memphis. Okay. I think they have more than enough to hold LeBron to like 46%, 47% shooting, because LeBron this year hasn't been able to make a 3. And if he's not making 3s at this age, Dylan Brooks,
second half of the season, he shot 35%.
Oh, that's average. And if he's not making 3s with Dylan Brooks guarding him on the ball, who's going to be constantly fighting, pushing him, annoying him, like Skip Bayless, but imagine if he was 6'7" and really want to win an NBA championship, I think Memphis is going to give LeBron a hard time on the ball. They're going to throw a lot of bodies.
Isn't Dylan Brooks also foul riddled?
Yeah, he is. Oh, yeah.
But in the playoffs, for a tech too, right? If he gets another tech, does he get suspended?
Yeah, he's pretty close. In the playoffs.
Let's go. Oh yeah, never mind.
Fouls get called less in the playoffs.
And they do, but if
Techs on Dylan Brooks, they give those out like candy to him.
Yes, but in the regular season, they weren't calling a whole lot of fouls on him. The question is, okay, how badly does the
He was
NBA?
averaging 3.5.
The question is, how badly does the NBA want the Lakers to win the series?
A lot.
If they want them to really win, and they really don't want to see John Morant move
I'm not
on,
gonna lie. If
the
I'm Adam
Lakers are
Silver,
probably going to win this thing.
if I'm
Because
Adam
a lot-
Silver, I'm rigging the hell out of this to be either Boston Lakers or Milwaukee Lakers. I'm
Because a
rigging
lot
the
like
shit
we
out
saw
of this.
20 years ago, if you put Jaren Jackson in foul trouble, I mean, the gates are opened up and it's over. So if the NBA really wants them to win the series, they're going to win. It's just a matter of how badly do they want them to.
If you get on the X and O's, it depends on when Jaren Jackson gets those first 2 fouls. If he gets those within the first,
5 minutes.
if he gets those in the first 7 minutes of the game, it's over. Because once he's out of the game and you get Braun and AD a chance to get it going. Because once Braun and AD get it going, they get a feel for either the jump shot or get a feel for the game. At that point, there's no stopping them. It doesn't matter how good of a defender you are at that point. Superstars, when they get going, there's a reason why they're superstars. There's no defense that's going to stop them one-on-one. So he needs to stay out of foul trouble so he can constantly at least be a pest to keep them out of rhythm. The moment they get in rhythm is the problem.
Right. Okay. So now we're going to shift gears to the Clippers Suns. No Paul George, probably.
That's another one that's really interesting to me that I have a lot of.
Chris Paul going up against his former team
Hmm.
in the Los Angeles Clippers. Kevin Durant going up against Kawhi Leonard. We have really not gotten to see that in years. Technically could have in the finals in 2019. Like, I hate to say it.
Technically could have in this.
Russell Westbrook's been good
second
for the
round.
Clippers. I think him versus KD is going to be a really awesome battle, and it doesn't matter. The Suns are going to win this in 6 games. I want to give the Clippers some respect because Tyronn Lue, whenever it goes down 2-0 in a series, he always makes some adjustments. But the jig is up. It's over. The Clippers can't go small the way they did 2 years ago. They simply don't have the personnel. Marcus Morris has fallen off. Nick Batum's 2 years older. And Robert Covington, they haven't really played as that small ball 5. I just think the Clippers don't have the depth that we propped up coming into the year. And they're a fundamentally different team than expectations. Now, Kawhi Leonard is fundamentally a top 10 player, and Russell Westbrook is playing very well for them, helping them play some of their best basketball. He's been really good, a way better fit than I imagined. And I want to give him some respect. He's shooting way better. He's making his mid-rangers. The three-pointers are going in a little bit more, and that's a pretty big difference. I really think the Clippers have something here with Russ long-term. But in this series, it doesn't matter. I mean, the Clippers don't have enough to stop KD and Devin Booker, and especially with Mason Plumlee and pick and roll, he's going to get diced up. And that's why this could end in 5 games, no Paul George.
Well, I disagree with you on Russ staying long-term. I don't think so. But for me, listen, I got the Suns in 7. But I'm saying that, and I've heard a lot of this lately, I think the Clippers are real live dogs in this series. Now, you go over their bench and you say they've been overrated on the bench. I still think that they're a deeper team than Phoenix. They got a bunch of wing guys, and you say they're older and stuff, but this is where those old veterans play better in the playoffs. All right. And I look at the matchups, right? So we got Kawhi and KD, right? That's kind of a wash. They match up well. Book and Powell. I know Powell's not on Booker's level, but he's playing very well. And I think he can score with Devin Booker.
Booker's going to score 30 on him.
I think you are making a stretch here.
Norman Powell is not a good
to make that even close to a
he gives
competition
like
right now.
3 inches in that matchup. I mean, Norman
Right.
Powell's a good scorer. He's had a 6 man of the year caliber season, 17 a game.
There's two things.
That's the thing. He should be in the 6 man of the year discussion, but I just don't think he can
very,
play
very
ball.
well.
There's very clear reasons why I have the Suns in 5, and it's one. You don't have the defensive personnel anymore. Paul George gone to even affect this game close to the level that you want to, and 2, you're gonna rely on Russell Westbrook a little bit more than you normally do. And the reason why they were so great, they're not even great, but the reason why they were able to keep the 5th seed at the end of the season is because Russ was having a career level shooting run for a while. Like 40% from above the break, 45% in mid range, 60% at the rim. That's nowhere close to what he normally is.
Probably not.
Yeah, you get in a playoff setting, those numbers are coming right back down to earth. You're gonna be relying on Kawhi a lot more. The only matchup I think they have even a chance of being like somewhat competent is the Zoo Ayton is a Zubac-Ayton matchup right there. And even then, when I watch the Suns play, Ayton's shots have gotten so easy since Kevin Durant's been here. It's literally impossible. And that's against good defensive teams. The Clippers really have no chance. One, you can't play KD one-on-one. I don't care if it's Kawhi. Kawhi's not the same level defensively he was to even give KD the same type of problems. So, one, you can't play KD one-on-one. You get a pick and roll. You're gonna either have to double one of these guys. You're gonna have to double one of these guys. You can't let all of them play one-on-one. The moment you double one of them, you're allowing either Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, or Devin Booker, either one of the three, to play 4-on-3 on closeouts. That's a
Loser's battle.
that's already a problem. Now you have it in either on the wing or top of the key, a pick and roll with DeAndre Ayton. At that point, if you have Kevin Durant in the corner, you have Devin Booker in the corner. If you have Devin Booker on a wing, Kevin Durant in the opposite corner, there's no rotations you can make that's close to good enough. One of them is gonna get a really good, either Kevin Durant's getting a wide open three, or you close out on him, it's a wide open mid-range pull-up because he steps in, or DeAndre Ayton gets a dunk at the rim. But you can't stop both. So right now, it's just you don't have the defensive personnel to really affect this game. The reason you're even in this position right now is because one of your guys that you're going to rely on heavily was having a career-level shooting run that's going to come back down to earth. It's too many problems right now.
The Clippers are the 18th ranked defense in the NBA. Like, their fall off was with Paul George. Now take him out the starting lineup. You put in Norman Powell or Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon, we haven't seen him in the playoffs in a long time. The last time he did, he was failing James Harden, whichever Ariza. Brandon, I appreciate you just making the point.
I mean, I didn't even get through half of it, but I get it. No, it's okay. I said Suns in 7, but it's okay.
7?
Fundamentally,
that's a lot of faith. That's a lot of faith you have in.
It's not faith. I was going over it, but it's okay. You guys completely disagree. You guys have a completely different look at this, but fair.
I do think the Clippers are much different though than what they were 2 years ago.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I was just saying, it's all right.
No, I want to hear your justification.
I tried to, but then you guys just shut it down and said,
you said Norman Powell can score at Devin Booker.
Yeah, but the moment you said Norman Powell and Devin Booker is going to be a little bit, you made it seem like it was going to be a close matchup at all, but it's really not.
Devin Booker is going to clear that one.
I get. See, again, you guys didn't listen to what I said, but it's fine. Let's move on to the last matchup. We'll see how the series plays out. We'll see how it plays out.
That was the last matchup.
That's not what I said, but
actually, we do have one more. It's Kings Warriors.
Mm-hmm. Ooh,
I kind of forgot about this one a little bit, but this is probably the most exciting matchup. So Mike Brown leaves the Warriors and goes on to save the Kings franchise. He makes them the best offense they've ever had, better than a Warriors offense. A lot of people are counting out the Kings because they haven't made the playoffs in 16 years, and if that is your justification, you have no idea how good this team is. Now, I've said in the past that Domantas Sabonis, he can't protect the rim, and he also can't go right, but this Kings offense is so dynamic because of how physical he's been, how imposing at the rim. His post moves, his sealing guys off, and his DHO game has been remarkable. Defensively, he can switch, and that's one of his strengths on defense. Not that he has too many. I actually think on defense, they are better equipped than the Nuggets were last year to defend this team because Sabonis is more mobile, and you have Keegan and Harrison Barnes who are adequate defenders on the wing, and De'Aaron as well will compete. The question is, Andrew Wiggins expected to return on Sunday for Game 1. Will he be up to speed? Kevin Looney says it looks great, but we have to see in a full 7-game series. Will he be able to play 25 minutes early on? Because that is the Warriors' lifeline defensively. And if he can't, this Kings offense is going to score a lot of points. Because after Andrew Wiggins relying on Gary Payton, who's not had too much time with the team yet, at least this season, and Dante DiVincenzo, I have the Kings taking the Warriors to 7 games. And in Game 7, I don't know who's going to win. It just comes down to how good Andrew Wiggins looks. If Wiggins is at the level he was at versus Dallas a year ago when he helped get this team to the finals, the Warriors are winning that. But if Andrew Wiggins is not, and he's maybe losing his touch, the Kings are going to win the series. It really just does come down to how good Andrew Wiggins looks, because Draymond can't do everything on defense.
Look, I'm shameless in who I want. I'm shameless in who I want to win the chip this season. I don't really care who wins. I just need the Suns to not win this shit, Boston to not win it because I hate them. I don't have to care about New York. The Clippers, because honestly, it's fuck the Clippers in my head. And the Warriors, because I cannot take this team again beating the odds. And it's so crazy that the season that they fall off, they get, it sounds bad to say this against the Kings, but they're obviously the food, the one people everybody wants. They're the team that's not proven, and they're the ones that get them. The team with the most playoff experience is going to be the one to get this in the first round after a season where they suck. I feel like what this is going to be a 7-game series if the Warriors pull it out, but it's going to be the series where Andrew Wiggins knocks off all that rust, and then in that second round series where we see the Warriors the same way they were last year, and it's going to piss me off to another level. I have this series going 7, and it all depends on Andrew Wiggins. It all depends on how much rust he has. If he's been keeping up, like while he's been away dealing with his family stuff, he's been keeping up with his training. And the only thing is maybe his shooting touch is not there, but the defensive ability is still there. The same awareness to rebound like he did in the finals, move off ball. If that's still all there and he fits back seamlessly, I got the Warriors in 6 or 7.
Yeah.
If there's still some rust there, I got the Kings in 6 or 7. It all just depends on what you get from him. Right now, the Warriors starting lineup has not been the problem this year. They're plus 22. They just haven't had a lot of minutes together, but they are plus 22 with those 5 on the court. The problem is when you get to the bench and Jordan Poole as a starter, he's been great this year. Off that bench, he has not been the same level. His efficiency has dropped off a lot. So that's your main scorer coming off the bench. You have Dante DiVincenzo next to him. That's been pretty okay. Yes, you have Gary Payton.
Good. Put some respect in Dante's. He's been great.
Dante's been great. Then I'm pretty sure the Warriors probably gonna go 8 to 9 men deep.
Yeah.
So then the other 2 coming off the bench would be Jordan Poole, Dante DiVincenzo, Kuminga, and
Gary Payton.
GP. Yeah, Gary Payton. Yeah, and GP2. That's your 4 coming off the bench. So right now, I think the Kings are the team. Their bench unit is a little bit better, but right now in my own head, I trust the Warriors' defense being able to keep up with the Kings' offense, and the Kings' defense being able to keep up with the Warriors' offense. Especially if the Warriors are at least 75 to 80% what they should be.
Okay.
Can't hear you. Muted.
Okay. I got Golden State in 6. I'm gonna first off give a kind of a concession speech for Sacramento. They had a hell of a season. Mike Brown coached a hell of a season. Coach of the year for a lot of people, not me, but one man's opinion doesn't speak for everybody. Fox is a bona fide star. Sabonis is kind of like a baby Jokic. These guys play hard, and John kind of said this at the beginning. If experience is the main thing for you, you're overlooking the Kings. Buddy, I think you're overlooking experience because experience matters in this situation. And the Warriors have been here and they've done that.
These ain't the same old Kings, though, as well as getting at.
I mean, we're about to find out. We're about to find out if they ain't the same old Kings. They're better than what they've put out in the last 16 years, but we're about to find out if they can even get through round 1 of the playoffs. You guys are right. The Warriors picked their shot. They wanted this. I think they've been pretty open about it, that this is the series we want because of the inexperience, because we believe we can take advantage of it. Sacramento is deeper, but
honestly, I don't know about that.
When you get it's slightly when you get Wiggins back, and like I said before, defensively, I think he's going to be there. Cardio-wise, I think he's going to be there. I think the last thing to come is going to be his shooting, and he's just going to have to get in rhythm. And I think this is the perfect series for him to knock off that rust. Clay is playing incredible. Shout out my boy Clay. Steph, I mean, he's still Chef Curry with the pot boy. Draymond is JRey. And Kevon Looney is liable to go give you freaking, 15 or 20 boards on one game throughout a series because he just plays hard and he hustles. I think they're going to turn the switch on, man. I really do. Now, I think I did hear this from somebody that the worst thing for the league is for the Warriors to win this series because it validates everybody's point that the regular season means F all. If the Warriors are able to cruise through, and the Lakers too by that, but they had a little more injuries, they're able to just cruise through and then in the playoffs, just be able to turn it on and beat a team that was dominating like the Kings or the Grizzlies. It kind of speaks volumes, guys, that the regular season at the end of the day is such a different animal than the playoffs, and it really means more minimal than you actually think it does. So
I don't know
the NBA,
that,
if they want, I don't know how you don't think that when
because
it's
Andrew Wiggins only
right there.
Steph Curry played 56 games this season. Andrew Wiggins only played 37 this year.
Yeah.
I don't really
even with that point, 9 and 30. What was it? 9 and 30, 11 and 30. They finished on the road.
They're bad on the road.
Yeah.
Oh, they're horrible on the road.
So I mean, have the Warriors been cruising through this regular season?
Here's the thing. That 9-game losing streak they had at the end of the season on the road, 7 of those Andrew Wiggins did not play. No, I think 7 of those Andrew Wiggins did not play, and then their last 2 wins their wins came against Luka Doncic, Akari Irvingless Dallas, the Houston Rockets without Şengün. I think
crappy teams.
Portland the G League Portland Trail Blazers. I can't remember, and somebody else. So yeah, I think their road struggles are definitely 1000% their problem. I think they're losing those first 2 games.
I mean, Sacramento is actually better on the road by 2 games than at home. I just think
are they the only team like that this season? Because I'm pretty sure like the road records this season have not been great.
The road records, no. I think the best team on the road is Milwaukee.
No, but I mean better on the road than at home.
Oh,
maybe. I don't know. I don't think that matters.
New York.
Matchups
matter. New York is better on the road than they are at home. But yeah, no, I firmly believe that. I do think that it's the worst thing for the NBA if the Lakers or the Warriors go and win a championship this year, because I already see the narrative being built. The regular season means nothing if teams are like this. And I know injuries played a part. I get it. But for the most part, they were able to just cruise right through and then get healthy at the right time.
I disagree.
I think that's the thing. Getting healthy at the right time. I think the Lakers, especially, you mixed up your entire team. If they kept the same team, they wouldn't even be in this position right now.
The West, that's true for.
Huh?
For the Eastern Conference, every single season, it is Milwaukee, Boston, Philly. Like the East, it's all of these elite contenders are winning 50-some-odd games. So I think in the Western Conference, it more so comes down to teams just being injured and just not being able to win at a high level in spite of those injuries.
Sorry to interrupt, but they're also different because they're younger players and their stars are younger. We all know older vets and older stars don't try as hard in the regular season, while Giannis, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum are going to try a little bit more.
Yeah, they have MVPs to win. They have things to prove, so they're gonna play a little bit harder. LeBron, Steph, KD already have the accolades. It's just to build the legacy with championships at this point.
And also, I'm riding that narrative too, so I'm picking the Warriors and the Lakers to win. So
cool. Yeah, so, I just think it's just in that specific talking point. Yes, if the Lakers make it to the finals and they meet the Boston Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks and they win that series, I don't think that's going to be the talking point. I think if the Warriors do it, that's going to be the talking point. I don't think if the Lakers do it, that's the talking point. I think, first of all, that nobody's going to talk about that because the GOAT debate is going to be taking over the media for the entire summer if that freaking happens.
Exactly why I don't want the Lakers to win the championship, because I do not want to hear from LeBron fans that he is the GOAT.
Oh, you're going to hear it from me. I'm going to come on here and say it. You're going to hear it from me.
I want to end off the show on this point. Jimmy Butler, 6-19, lay an egg versus the Hawks. Struggled to finish. Perception or reality? Is Jimmy Butler really a playoff superstar? Last year he was.
Yes,
2020 they had a superstar. He seemed like a superstar on that finals run. But Jimmy Butler every other year lays an egg in the playoffs. 2021 he got outscored by Bryn Forbes. 2019 for the Sixers he only averaged 19 in that series. The series prior when he was with the Timberwolves, he was coming off a torn meniscus and he was okay in that Rocket series.
I'm gonna stop you there.
Playoff superstar, series in, series out. is playing at that level. But with Jimmy Butler, while he's more volatile than most stars, and he can go and drop 40 if his mid-range is falling, his floor, dropping 6 points and 7 points, getting gassed out, that to me makes me reconsider the thought Jimmy is a playoff superstar. Because to me, it's not a no-brainer. And I honestly think he's really just on the border, but he's no Reggie Miller to me.
Okay, I'll give you this. I think it's not to the level that a lot of people want to say it is. I think when the playoffs do start, Jimmy does turn it up, and he is definitely a playoff superstar. The problem here is that every single time where he does lay an egg in the playoffs, there's a reason. You see the reason behind it. When he was on the Timberwolves, he tore his ACL. They were the 3rd seed. He tore his meniscus, and he was forced to come back a lot earlier than he was supposed to. And he willed them into the playoffs in those last 4 games. So I don't blame him for losing to the Rockets when he had them at the 3rd seed already, and the moment he leaves, they just fall off a cliff, and he has to come back and just literally do carry job. I can't blame him for that. On the Sixers team, they have too many weapons on that rock. Him averaging 19 per game is what he's supposed to do. Joel Embiid is the guy that was dominating the ball. He was the one taking the shots. He just wasn't making them. Ben Simmons was the guy having the ball in his hands and orchestrating the offense. Jimmy, he played really well. He was the one playing defensive Kawhi that made it a little bit harder in that series. He was the one getting steals. He was the one disrupting their offense, Toronto's offense. He even made that a 7-game series. He played his role, and he was a superstar in that series because he played his role to that good of a level. 2021 against 2020, and when you played in the bubble, he showed when he has rest, when the season plays the right way, when he goes in the playoffs healthy, he's great. That finals run was insane. 2021, he has 2 months of rest, goes to the season very injury riddled, and then you go up against a Bucks team that not only got a lot better with Drew Holiday, but you're just completely gassed. And it shows because the Lakers were completely gassed and they lost. And we all know LeBron is not a playoff choker, but they're also, it's just whenever he's played bad in the playoffs, there's been a reason. Now, this year, if we beat the Bulls, which I really hope we don't, I really just want the lottery pick and to revamp this team. I don't want to see this shit again next year. But if we do beat the Bulls and we go up against the Bucks and he does lay an egg, then we have that conversation because there's no excuse this year. The team sucks, but guess what? You still have had enough rest this season to be able to play the level we expect you to. So if he goes in the playoffs and he doesn't, I think people are going to say some shit if he goes in the playoffs and he's giving you the 24-6-6, which is very, very good, especially for the team that he's playing with, and that's better than he was in the regular season, and that's definitely superstar level numbers. But I think people are gonna say some shit because it's not the same 27-7-7 he was averaging last year or some shit, right? And to be honest, he was averaging closer to 30 because there's that game he got injured against Boston where he only played the first half. So I understand. There's reasons why you can see the reasons why he falls off. And when he does fall off, but whenever the conditions are even just close to okay, whenever he hasn't had a season, what should be a season-ending injury, and then forces his way back, whenever he's had more than a 2-month off season, whenever he's the number one option, he's always produced.
Yeah.
In my opinion, we go back to when he was on the Bulls when they were close to beating the Celtics and Rondo got injured. He was playing really well in that series too.
If Rondo didn't get hurt, I think they'd beat the Celtics.
Exactly. So he was playing really well in that series too. He's always turned it up in the playoffs. It's just the times when he hasn't, there's an obvious reason why he didn't. Or well, he couldn't.
So I laughed at the beginning of this because I know where this all stems from. It stems from a tweet that John's boy Joel tweeted saying, Jimmy Butler is not really a playoff superstar because he only had one exceptional run. And I asked to be curious, which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the bubble? Or are you talking about last year? Which one was not exceptional? And he said the bubble. He said the finals run was exceptional, but the overall run was not.
Because he didn't need to be. You have Goran averaging 20.
Now I'm going to say this, right? Because I'll get to that point, right? That run, the overall run, is where playoff Jimmy was born. That was the genesis of it, the bubble. Okay, where he was coming in with his hair all over the place, his facial hair all over the place, saying, I'm on a business trip. This isn't pleasure. The guy wasn't even getting haircuts because he was so focused on the game. All right. And I think he even didn't let his family come visit or didn't bring his family.
Oh, no, the Heat at all didn't let anybody come visit. They're like, this is a business trip.
This is a business trip. that run, I understand the run up to it. Listen, when we played Indiana, he had 2 great games, and the other ones we didn't need him to play great. Okay, and that's where my point goes to, where Jimmy doesn't always have an effect show up in the box score. Okay, he's one of those players that can affect the game in so many different ways without putting up 27, 7, and 7, or whatever the hell the case may be. He knows how to take a back seat and play a different role. We forget that we beat Milwaukee 4-1 with him as the leader. And we literally kind of put the blueprint out on the wall of stopping Giannis.
Toronto a year before us.
But keep going.
That's fair. That is fair. That is fair. But then we continued it.
Oh yeah,
So
we put him in a torture chamber. I'm not gonna lie. Toronto had to take 7.
Toronto was that 6-game series? Toronto?
Yeah, 6 games. We knocked them boys out.
We did
in
it
5.
Oh no, sorry, we didn't. Oh no, that's Boston.
No, 5. They only got 1.
Boston was a 6-game series.
That game was without Giannis.
Yeah, and listen, my whole point was that the overall run was what born playoff Jimmy. Then you go to the season after that, right? And I want the gassed point. Okay, that's really slick you to bring up gas, John, because we had this argument about Kevin Durant getting gas, and you got on me hard body for that. All right, Jimmy was literally doing everything in that finals. The fact that the man put up, what was it, a 40-point triple-double in the finals?
Yep.
And then a 30-point triple-double the next game.
It's like Kevin Durant versus the Bucks. 2 things they share in common.
That's so crazy.
You heard me.
That's so crazy. Not going. I'm gonna give John
12
this.
points.
I'm gonna give John this. That KD series is probably better than Jimmy's final run. I'll give him that.
It was. That's okay. Jimmy had a phenomenal run, but keep going.
Maybe because he pushed it to 7, but again, that's semantics. We'll get into semantics. Fine, you can have that point. Then we get into the next season where we just completely laid an egg against Milwaukee, where we did not show up. Nobody. That was not just on Jimmy. Nobody showed up. We played with no effort, no energy, kind of like we played with 2 nights ago. All right, it kind of reminded me a lot of that. We were just overmatched. It wasn't happening that series. Then the year after, we brought in homeboy PJ Tucker, and I think he provided a pretty big spark plug and an energizer to that team where we're not going to back down. I think we're kind of actually missing that guy. Somebody like a PJ Tucker. I just
look at it. I look at that playoff run, and I don't see how you can't say he wasn't that. We put Trae Young in a torture chamber.
So wait, John, here's what I want to ask you.
Grinded him into a pulp.
Oh, here's what I want to ask you. Why do you say he's not a player? Because I mean, we've had this conversation for the last year, right? He's a playoff superstar. You've said it. I'm not misquoting you on that. You've said that on multiple occasions.
Yeah,
he's a playoff superstar.
Yep.
So is it just because he laid an egg in 2021, and then now you saw this play-in game where you're like, I'm starting to question it?
So, like, last year versus the Celtics, Jimmy in game 1 has 41. Game 2, 29. The next 2 games, 8 points, 6 points. In those games,
one of those games, he went out in the second half.
Even still. That was game 3?
Wait. One of them, he won the second half, and the other one, he didn't play, right?
No,
game 3. Game 3, he played 20 minutes. We won by 6. He put up 8 points. Game 4, we got blown out. He played 27 minutes. But see, here's the thing. Jimmy is liable to do that. He's liable. He'll give you those 40 to 35, and then you see the last 2 games, 47 and 35. He'll have a couple games there where he's not going to show. It is inconsistent.
I think Jimmy is a superstar when the mid-range shot is falling, and he can get that into his arsenal. But that's not consistently falling. And if you're not consistently doing it throughout an entire series,
he's not a score first guy though.
I think when you get in a must-win game 6 and then a must-win game 7, when you put up 47 and then 35, at that point you just got to look at it as like, whenever he needs to, because it wasn't even like in that 47-point game, the mid-range jumper and the 3 was falling, but in that 35, he wasn't falling. That was all willing that shit to the rim.
Yes.
And free throws. The thing with Jimmy that pisses off a lot of people, especially me as a Heat fan, is whenever he wants to turn it on, you see him turn it on. That game against Atlanta, yes, we had no energy, but also the amount of bunnies that just bounced out of the rim for some reason.
And that's the other thing.
He was trying. He was pressing himself.
If Jimmy's not getting the fouls, if he's not drawing the fouls, he's prone to tank a lot of layups. That's part of his game too. And I feel like his game, it's reliant on that mid-range shot and gains to the free throw line. And it's just, I love Jimmy. There's a level of will to his game where he does stuff that he shouldn't be doing, but I really don't think he's consistent enough to.
The talent level isn't there for
that's
other guys that you see Jimmy shouldn't be able to be on these guys' level when the talent level is like this different.
Yeah.
But it's just how smart he is that makes it. The thing with Jimmy is that a 17-5-5 performance for Jimmy has the same effect on a game as a 30-point performance from a guy like Tatum. That's the thing, is that Jimmy doesn't need to score to be that guy.
No.
He doesn't
That's
need
what
to.
I'm saying, the box score.
Whenever you look at him, it's like a 15-5-5, but then maybe like 2 steals, maybe a block. But he has 6 deflections. He has 6 deflections in the game. He's guarding your number 1 guy.
Yeah.
It's just his effect isn't just always on scoring, and I think when you harp on that, it's just when the fact where he's doing everything else plus dropping 30, you're like, it's not even that he's a playoff. He's like, is this like the best player in the freaking world right now? Because what the hell is he doing?
Like, here's the thing. Jimmy is not a number 1 scoring option. He shouldn't be. Why do you think I was begging for a guy like Donovan Mitchell to take a little pressure off Jimmy so he could be that number 1 and Jimmy could just kind of stride through and be that secondary option there? That's why I was begging for it. So that's why I'm saying with the box score, he doesn't, the way he affects the game is so different. It's kind of like a PJ Tucker, but not to that extent where PJ could go like 3 boards and 3 points and still have an insane effect on the game. But yeah, I hear the inconsistency. Trust me, I'm a Miami Heat fan. Romain can probably speak to it. The inconsistency is there, but I think there's a lot of guys with inconsistency. I mean, we talk about Anthony Davis. The motor runs not as hard as it should. He has a lot of mental lapses throughout the game. I mean, do we not forget the oh God, who'd they play in the play-in? Minnesota on the final shot or whatever it was, where him and LeBron had a mix-up and he completely had a brain fart on defense and messed it up.
I think there's a lot of guys that have inconsistent.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There are inconsistent points.
Kevin Durant.
You want him to have all 7 games or all 6 games be 30-point games and stuff like that. It's not realistic when a guy is not a true scorer, like a Tatum or a KD or somebody like that. He's not, and he's not on the level of Kawhi, where Kawhi has turned himself into a number 1 scorer. Jimmy can summon it up, but he shouldn't be your number 1 guy. Why do you think I've been begging for another guy to come in, or I've been begging for Tyler Hero to take over that role? It's because Jimmy shouldn't be the number 1 guy.
That's another thing right now, is that once we lose against the Bulls or once we lose against the Bucks, I don't care which one it is. I hope he asks for a trade. I don't want to see this team back again.
Which one? Who? Jimmy or Tyler?
Jimmy. The thing is, like, Tyler isn't gonna get us the pat. If we trade Tyler, we're gonna look to contend. And we're not going to get a player back good enough from Tyler to be able to contend. We trade Jimmy, though, where Tyler's 23, Bam's 25, 26. We're committing to building around these two. And right now, with the way Portland is, you call up Portland, you say, yo, give me Shaedon Sharpe, Jeremy Grant, and 2 first-round picks. You got Jimmy Butler. I don't care what, you got Jimmy Butler. Do you think Portland takes that offer? Especially to keep Dame.
You said Shaedon
Sharpe and Jeremy Grant. And 2 first-round picks. Not even 3, 2.
I think those 2 first might be a push because of his age, Jimmy's age.
But yeah.
Okay, then
get this
3 first-rounders, but throwing Nikola Jokic.
Oh my God! I thought you said Jokic.
No, Jovic.
Jokic.
Jovic. 3 first, but throwing Jovic.
Maybe. Oh.
That's the thing. Is that at this point, this is just my Heat rant. I don't want to see this team again next year. It's too much. It's a problem.
Yeah. All right. With all that being said, I'll wrap up episode number 93 of the Wise Guys podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Staying to the very end. You can find Romain at FLB on YouTube and a couple of other social media platforms like Twitter. And as always, we'll see you next time.
Very classy.